And welcome, adventurers, back to Realms of Faroff, where we roll clicky-clacky math rocks and share a bunch of tragedy together as we get through these tough times. I am the Wade Show, and I have my cast of friends here with us tonight as we continue to dive through the intrigue of the gala that they have been slowly moving themselves towards over the last few weeks. Just a quick recap. So last game, the adventurers tracked down this, I won't say fanatical, but this more esoteric group within the Church of Gillespie, which is also the faith of two of our heroes. And these star chasers, as they are known, people who are trying to raise their stars within the world, were plotting to do something to the gala that our heroes have been tasked with protecting. Not exactly sure what their actual explicit intentions were, but they knew that something was wrong when the two faithful were basically kicked out of a place of worship that they should be able to freely go. That kicked off a very serious combat with a paladin known as Munkter, who our heroes managed to overcome after he, at the end of it, managed to slip, fall, and crack his head against a wall in the most hilarious of endings for a fight. And we are going to be picking up in the alleyway just outside of the Star Chaser base. Before we get started, though, a couple quick announcements. First off, if you are a subscriber to the channel, thank you. I appreciate it. It all helps with the artwork and find different things that we can use in the tabletop programs that we use. So very, very appreciative. There are sub perks. Make sure you check those out in the about section of the channel.
Enjoy your custom emotes.
Yeah, custom emotes. You can actually affect the gameplay as we play the game. You can give people luck and inspo, which is a die 6 they get to add onto their rolls. As well as, if you even want to throw some bits to the channel to help out even more, you can give them healing effects, or even the monster surge ability, which will make the combats a little bit tougher. Just a little bit tougher, which isn't too bad. Finally, next month, we are going to be participating with a collective of other D&D streamers who are working with an organization called Players versus Cancer. So we're going to be doing a donation drive. Anyone who wants to donate is more than willing to. We're trying to, as a group of streamers, get $10,000 that we can donate to this really great organization to help combat cancer, help people who have medical bills they need to get taken care of, as well as help with research into fixing terrible diseases across the world that we are able to affect in some small way, but meaningful as best we can. So tune in throughout April, donate if you're able to. We appreciate it, and if you can't, at least tune in to have fun with us all while you're here. With that, let's get started, heroes. You guys pick up outside of the Whistling Tavern, or the Wet Whistle Tavern. You are in the piss-filled alleyway. The other smaller acolytes of the Star Chasers have already left to go back to the main workhouse of Gillespie. And so you are still outside with Munkter sort of tied up, unconscious, against a wall, as you guys are looking to do whatever you want to do next. So what would you like to do?
To start, Kip is looking through Francis's spell book, and his face goes pale. He looks at Akko, looks at the page, looks at Akko, and then walks back down into the basement and comes back up with Francis's corpse.
So what you got there?
Smoothie?
Oh, what we have here? Oh, this is a fucking necromancer that's a member of the Hold.
What?
He has necromantic spells in his spell book.
Are we making a field trip?
Oh, I am, and I'm gonna sell all the rest of these dirty fucking scummy spells.
I mean, we don't need to sell all of them.
Hey,
Akko holds his hands out.
We'll keep the ones that aren't illegal and that are useful to us, but otherwise, I'm gonna turn this piece of shit in, and maybe there'll be a reward. I'll meet you. Where should I plan on meeting the rest of you?
Kip, can I go with you if we manage to stop at a place that I can get some booze and a patch of green earth?
Hey, well, booze is as simple as going inside.
I should think the first is a lot easier to come by than the second around here.
I have a nicer place that owes me a free drink.
Ah, yes.
I also want to go with you because I could use a drink and I want to see that book.
As much
I
as I'd
think-
hate to split us up.
I don't think we should split up right now. What I think we can do is we can just drop Munkter off at the workhouse and we'll go and check, because I don't have the ability to interrogate someone to find out what they know, any of that. And I don't think Jules does either.
Oh, I do, but I'm not
Well,
positive it's something y'all would want to be partaking in.
I could tomorrow compel him to speak truthful.
we have roughly 24 hours before the gala. I would prefer if we didn't split up in case of emergencies,
Aye.
because time is of the essence. So what I think we should do is drop Munkter off at the workhouse, explain the situation. We'll be in tomorrow, and then we all go to the hold or to the bar or whatever. But I think we're all a little frazzled and worn thin at the moment.
I think another round of baths might be in order for all of us. But
I love those baths.
let's go make some fucking money
Yes.
off this piece of shite, and
There is one thing that we should all be cognizant of in addition. The shadowy figure in the back. I've never seen anything move like that.
the thing that grabbed the scroll.
No, well, possibly, but I could have sworn I saw a person turn into shadow.
Aye, there
And-
was a drow lad.
Like smoke.
Could that have been some sort of a holy vision?
Magic, possibly.
I mean, it was clearly there because it supernaturally dodged that javelin I threw at it.
The lad?
Oh yeah, I threw that javelin straight on. It should have hit something.
No
I-
shortage of esoteric magics, particularly, I imagine, those who come from the Undersenate.
Jules,
We might.
sorry,
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
interrupt you guys here 1 second. Jules, roll your cloister cleric knowledge for me. Now that you are having a bit of a moment to breathe and think about what you saw down there, let's see what you know about it.
I'm sorry, you were talking to me. My audio cut out.
Oh yeah, Jules, roll your cloister cleric knowledge.
Okay, one moment. Knowledge check with a special bonus equal to cleric plus int. Which knowledge would you like me to roll?
So this is your sort of your bardic ability of the cloister
Okay.
cleric. So I think it's just your int plus your level in a die 20 roll.
Oh, okay. Special. Okay. Uh, 11. So plus 4, plus 2. So 17.
You're aware of people who grasp the power of illusionary magic. That's pretty par for the course. There are people who take it a step further and start dealing with shadow magic. It's a very specific branch of illusionary magic that you've heard of before in your travels. You've never come across it or experienced it firsthand, but the people who can wield shadow magic can normally amplify illusionary magic to an extreme that even a specialist in illusionary magic can't reproduce. You feel pretty confident that what you saw down there was someone who has dealt in shadow magic in and probably a very powerful embrace.
I'll look to the group. There's an old story that I read in a book once that I think actually fits pretty close to this. There's a type of magic based around manipulation of shadows and the weave within them, and their applications to illusory magic. It's not common. It's very rare. It's not something you'll see every day. But what I saw fits that type of magic, and given that it is of an arcane nature, we should certainly keep that as a high concern, especially given what we suspect with the gala. But answers might be most forthcoming from Minotaur in regards to that.
Beat it out of him then.
So where are you guys heading to now?
So, which is closer on the way, the hold or the workhouse?
Probably the hold. You guys are in the south side of the town right now. The hold is pretty much directly north to you, whereas the workhouse is more northwest from your location. You'd have to go like a diagonal approach to get to the workhouse.
If I may make a suggestion, this man isn't going to wake up anytime soon, and this other man is a corpse. I suggest we simply go where is closer along the way and complete our errands in said order.
Hey.
Sounds great.
All right, so the hold?
Yep. While we walk, Akko and Kip are busy tearing pages out of Francis's spellbook. And
Are either of them eating the pages?
Akko seriously considers eating 2 of the pages, but
Okay.
stops.
Okay.
Who knows what would happen if you consumed the arcane formulae, Akko? All sorts of things have been said about consuming power.
I don't think Akko wants to eat the 2 necromancy pages.
All
I'll
right,
give you
so
indigestion.
you guys head north through the town. It is still early in the evening. You all got there just as dusk was settling, but it's starting to get darker now. You're probably looking at about 10, 11 o'clock at night as you all make your way into the interior of the city. You do get some very odd looks from people as you pass through. Some of the town guardsmen look at you for a little bit, but seem to recognize what you are. Again, adventurers are not rare in the world. So seeing people who are very clearly just walking down the street carrying a couple of bodies, not being afraid to show this, kind of shows what you are. And they seem to let you go about your business, but they do keep a close eye on you nonetheless as you move through. And soon enough, you find yourself at the very familiar oaken front door to the hold. Same door, same building that you've always seen in every other city you've gone to, as a carbon copy image. Opening the door, you hear the tinkle of ethereal bells, and you see a counter with a young woman with blonde hair sitting behind it who looks up as you all walk in. Oh, hello. How can I help you tonight?
refresh my memory, Wade, on my contact's name again, since I keep using last campaigns instead.
Yeah, Dunkle. You're looking for Warden Dunkle.
Evening. Could you please summon Warden Dunkle if he's available? It's quite important.
Oh, of course. It is a little bit late. I'm not sure if he's available, but let me see if I can get him for you. And she pulls out a ledger from underneath the counter, plops it down, opens it up, flips through a few pages, and then starts writing in it. While we're waiting for a reply, is there anything that I can help you with a little bit more immediately?
Hi, I know as a member of the Hold in good standing that I get a discount on goods and services. Does that apply also to magic items sold to the Hold?
Oh, absolutely. We'll usually spend a little bit more coin than your average merchant on the street would if they even have the funds to begin with. Unlike them, we're not bound by the local economy. We're national, as they say. So we have a little bit of deeper pockets than your country general store.
Hi. Well, that's good. Akko, my companion here, we happened across some very disturbed individuals and recovered spells in scroll form that we'd like to sell.
Of course, I can take care of any of that for you right now. So basically the way it's going to work, guys, is that anything that you want to sell that's in the scroll format, typically you would only get 50% of its book value. Here, you'll get 60% of its book value due to Kip's affiliations with the Hold.
60%?
60% of the book value.
Did you say 50 or 60?
60.
Okay. All right, so
after a moment, she looks up from her book. Warden Dunkle will be here in just a few moments for you.
Thank you, lass.
Oh, of course. Always happy to be of service to our fellow mages. You all look a little rough around the gills. Are you okay?
We've seen better days.
It's been a trying evening.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
Maybe-
a cup of coffee and a good night's sleep won't fix.
Do you want some coffee? I can get some for you.
Yes, actually, I would love a cup of coffee.
Of course. She gets up from her counter. She moves away over to a little area. Looks like there's some refreshments set up there. She grabs a coffee pot and comes back with a couple of glasses and pours you guys some coffee. Very nice dark roast. Has a little bit of a hint of almond.
While she's serving the rest of them, Kip's going to sort through the assorted scrolls and grab one in particular, and then just go over and kind of sit next to the body.
Akko.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Akko.
Yeah. What?
Do you have a flask on you?
Of alcohol?
Yes.
I think I have a bottle of like 2-week-old wine that I grabbed at the first tavern we went to that I never drank.
No, that doesn't mix with coffee. Lass, do you have a flask under that desk?
Kip slides over the bottle of whiskey that he bought from their new bartender friend.
Oh, thank you!
The better stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, praise the green.
I was like, oh, fuck, Kip gave her the rot gut.
Or the brown in this case.
I just half and half that with my coffee.
Yeah, it's good. It blends well. Yeah. After about 3 minutes, the door behind the counter opens up, and the familiar black robes with the white sigil of the Hold on it man walks through. Kip, you immediately recognize Warden Dunkle from the last time that you had a conversation with him. As he walks in and the door snaps closed behind him.
Warden?
Ah, Kip, I wasn't expecting to be summoned by you. Is everything okay?
Well, in a matter of pertinence to our previous conversation, this individual, who I believe goes by the name Francis and was a member of the Hold, unfortunately met his demise earlier tonight at our hands. And in perusing his spell book, found numerous spells that he'd memorized of a necromantic nature. Figured it'd be the kind of thing you would want to know.
Very much so. This is excellent work, Kip. Showing your true colors to the Hold, and I'm proud to see this working out so well.
He'll hand over the page which has the necromancy spell. John, refresh my memory.
There are 2 of them. It's Ray of Exhaustion and Ray of Enfeeblement.
These are the ones that he had memorized.
He seems to have cracked some of the higher echelon. I'm glad that he was put down before he could get any more under his wings. What was the situation? How did you come to face him?
Well, I know that the Hold doesn't interfere with local politics, but it appeared that he and other individuals were immersed in a plot to perhaps assassinate some rather high-ranking nobility that will be attending a gala.
While the whole doesn't interest itself in politics, adventurers do, which is why I'm glad to have an assistant who has that purview currently.
Kip will look guiltily at Fee when he refers to him as his assistant.
Oh, we're gonna talk about this later. I'm gonna take you to a nice, lovely, plush place with lots of drinks and nice, scantily clad ladies, and we're gonna talk.
Oh, joy. Aye.
Could you ask him about the shadow magic? Is there any way? I mean, I apologize. I'm not super familiar with the hold and its workings, but is there any way they might be able to find out if there's anyone talented in that type of magic?
It's fine, priest. You can talk to me directly. I don't mind the interaction. Shadow magic is what you're asking about?
Yes, and I'll explain to him, what I saw, what it looked like, and in the context, I read it in a book, etc.
I've had some small dealings with shadow magic personally over the years, in my own travels. They are a slippery lot. Normally, it's an infusion of illusionary magic with the plain stuff, the ethereal weave of the shadow realm that infuses between all other realities, between here and the elemental planes of the earth and fire and water. There is the shadow plane in between, and along with the ethereal plane, and the astral plane on top of it is a sandwich of planar stuff. And so the shadow magics that are employed most commonly are taking a twist of this planar stuff and infusing it into their own magic and making it real. They border on conjuration to a frightening degree.
Do you know anybody or anybody who is a practitioner of such magic? My understanding is it's rare.
It is rare. I know one man, but he doesn't live on this plane.
Not on this plane.
He lives in another world. It's probably the best way to infer it to your young minds. There are many other worlds besides our own that people
Think
can
of them
live
like
upon.
sandwiches on a smorgasbord.
It's probably a fair way to look at it. But he travels the plains much as I do, in a much more finite way. But as far as people who live here, I believe there's an apprentice who started a few years back who is studying planar stuff to be used as components. He may know more about shadow magic.
Happen to be a drow lad?
No, I don't believe so. I believe we only have a few dark elves who have signed on with the hold over the years.
Well, you may have another. There's a young drow boy that exhibited a rather alarming degree for his age of arcane mastery. He managed to cast invisibility. Ran into him not far from here tonight.
In the city?
In the city, aye.
Was he wearing a bracelet?
I don't believe so. I think he was a homeless boy.
But he was casting spells.
Aye.
Aren't some races inclined towards magics in their blood?
They are.
Usually not more than a few cantrips, though.
Dark elves are predisposed to darkness-based spells, calling upon a limited form of conjuration and illusionary magics. But I don't believe invisibility is one of their natural predisposed spell-like abilities. But if he was casting spells in the city without a bracelet on, we should have a record of him.
And Diabolus should have marked him. Aye.
He
I'm
turns
not
to
sure
the
if
girl.
that's within my purview.
Yeah, he turns to the girl. Get me the logs for this evening. And she nods, and she gets up and she walks out the back door that you saw him enter in through. It'll take a little bit to get these. But is there anything else you can tell me about the encounter?
Just Francis. What Jules saw. It was a bit hectic, to be fair. But they seemed in particular interested in one item, which they were quite keen on grabbing, and escaped into the sewer tunnels before we could see what it was.
So you don't know
But
what it was that they were
seemed
trying to grab?
It was a scroll, but to my eye, it was a very particular grab.
Interesting. You've certainly found yourself in a interesting position. Yep. I feel like things won't be dull with you as my apprentice.
Clearly not.
After a couple minutes, the door opens up and the girl walks back in with a book. She hands it to the warden, and he opens it up, but very noticeably, you all can tell that he is opening it up in such a way that none of you can see into the book at all. It's clear that he does not want you to see what is there, and he positions himself so that you can't see what's in the book.
I'm just gonna look elsewhere.
Francis, huh, Kip?
Aye. Gonna spell his fucking name out for him.
We're gonna have such a conversation.
Were there any other
Should we
spells
drag his
cast
body
in the
in here with us?
vicinity?
A fair amount by several party members.
Mine
Most-
wouldn't show up, most likely.
Most of them divine.
Nothing divine. It would have to be arcane in nature.
I used a wand, otherwise I was just using my own invocations.
It'd be around the time the fireball was cast too by
I
lovely
cast
Francis.
Alter Self.
Aye,
Fireball, alter self.
Francis cast fireball, aye.
And you said that you were using your invocation, Skip.
Aye. Shatter, Stone Fist. A lot of shatter, actually.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, Jules, we did the 9 transposition thing.
See the fireball.
Yes. Yeah, you pulled me out of the fire.
I'm not seeing anything else in this time frame, though, outside of the spells that you all have mentioned. I see a blast,
strange.
a focused blast of condensed arcane energy. I believe that's you, though, Kip, correct?
Aye. The odd part is I can see through invisibility. To the eyes of everyone else, the scroll seemed to hover in midair. To my eyes, I saw the lad pick it up and run.
Interesting. Whatever he
There are other
employed,
techniques that can render one invisible.
he could have been casting divine spells, for instance, rather than arcane spells.
That's true.
Whatever he was doing, we don't have a log of it. I would tell you to be wary of this individual. He snaps the book closed and hands it to the girl. Is there anything else I can help you with this evening? I'll of course take these necromantic spells and make sure they're properly disposed of. Is that a body?
Good job.
Or is that two
Good
bodies?
idea.
He
Hey.
looks over.
Where one's conscious, the other one is dearly departed Francis.
That's the necromancer.
Aye.
Excellent.
The other
Um,
one is a fallen paladin who will be answering to the workhouse.
I will leave that to your church's business then. But for the necromancer, he snaps his finger and Francis's body lifts up off the ground and starts floating across the room towards him.
I
will
told
see
you when
that
I
this is
requested
disposed.
this. I told you when I requested this position, I would not be doing it half-assed. Hopefully, this stands as a testament to my resolve in the matter.
Most certainly, Kip. I will admit that when you made your request to become my apprentice, I didn't know if it was honest. Honest both in your intentions of what you want, as well as in what you wanted to get out of it. But finding a necromancer within your first few weeks of becoming my apprentice, this is the type of thing that gets you renowned, helps you climb the ladder that you spoke of when you first joined under me. This is excellent work.
Thank you for that.
Conversation.
Here, and he reaches into his robes and he pulls out a small sack and he hands it over towards you, Kip.
I will accept it. Preparing to go blind, activating sense magic or detect magic.
You only get a low-level magic reading from inside the bag.
Okay.
You also, as you're handling it, you do hear some clinks of coin as you sort of move it around underneath your hands before opening.
I instinctively, as soon as I hear the clink, shield it with my other hand in the direction of Akko. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Of
for the
course,
shillings.
that's the standing bounty for anyone who brings a necromancer, as well as a small gift for you from me.
Thank you again. Hopefully I won't be seeing you too soon, but if we do, I imagine it'll be under similar circumstances.
Well, I'm sure, but hopefully we'll see each other sooner rather than later. There's always knowledge to be imparted,
Aye.
and you are my apprentice.
Well, thank you, sir. Have a pleasant evening. What's left of it, anyway.
Of course, and to you. And he turns and leaves to the back door, taking the body with him.
And then I'll just kind of look at the girl behind the counter and just be like, "Hi, so thank you for that and your hospitality. We'll just be taking what gold those scrolls are worth, and we'll be out of your hair."
Of course. And Akko, I believe the number was 2,100 gold pieces.
Hot damn.
She will pull out
Akko, do
a
we
sack
wanna-
and count it out there for you guys and shove it over.
Do we want to pick up the ting while we're here, or do we want to keep that gold in reserve?
Oh, I mean, if we can get one here, we might as well pick it up.
Let me. I'm just going to quick peek inside the sack for a gift because Dunkle seems to be pretty astute. You're muted, Wade.
Thank you. Inside the pouch that Dunkle gave you, there is 500 gold pieces, as well as a bottle that has this smoky vapor inside of it.
Okay. Lass, do you happen to have any artificers' monocles for sale?
Oh, we do. It's a pretty popular item with new adventurers, so we have a couple that are always ready to be bought.
Would that be okay with everyone if we dipped into party funds for that before divvying up the rest?
Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Seems
Well-
like a good investment.
We'll make our money off of it.
We'll save plenty, yay. About 100 gold per item. Yes, please. We'll take one of those.
All right. She reaches down into one of the drawers and pulls out a monocle with a few precious gems on the outer ring of it and a fine golden chain with a little clip at the end of it. And she lays it on the counter and holds it over to you all. I believe that'll be 700 gold pieces. Is that correct,
Right.
Wonder? I think it's 700.
It's 1100, I believe.
Oh, is it 1100? Hold on one second. Let me double check myself.
I may get a discount. I'm not sure.
Still worth it either way, honestly.
Oh, yeah. That's just 11 items identified to get your money back. Akko, are you sure you want me to keep the rest of these?
All right, so it looks like it is 1,500 gold pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Magic item
750 to
compendium.
craft it.
Yeah, so 1,500. So it'll be 1,450 gold pieces, sir.
Hey. I'll pass
Sure.
that over from Akko, because he's busy writing.
She'll scoop
Yeah,
the
I'll,
gold up and fully push it over to you.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's that. Akko gave me a fair bit of scrolls that I'll be able to use to enhance the rest of the party as needed.
Akko also hands Jules a scroll as well, which when you read it is cure serious wounds.
I will put this to good use.
Considering that you and Alara have damn near been tapped most encounters, we figured that might be a good trump card.
I definitely could see this coming in handy when the cards are down. Yes, I will reserve it for such occasions.
While we're exiting, Wade, I'm going to put on the monocle and detect magic on the smoky bottle.
It just lets you instantly identify, correct?
Yes.
You are looking at a ever-smoking bottle. Smoke leaks from this lead-stoppered mouth of this brass bottle, which weighs 1 pound. When you use an action to remove the stopper, a cloud of thick smoke pours out in a 60-foot radius from the bottle. The cloud's area is heavily obscured. Each minute the bottle remains open. Within the cloud, the radius increases by 10 feet to a maximum of 120 feet.
Yay.
Throw this up here for you.
You guys can literally see Kip start to sprout horns as he looks at the bottle, looks at the inside room of an enclosed space, looks at the bottle, looks at the room, looks at the bottle, looks back at the room.
I'll be taking that from ya.
Nope. He runs.
All right, I believe you all are now making your way to the workhouse, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with with all of that happening, your travel to the workhouse, you'll arrive at the workhouse at around midnight.
Okay.
On the way, I'm going to pass over the 500 gold from the reward to Akko to put into party funds.
Kip.
Hey.
I'll let you keep that, but you have to promise me one thing. One thing, Kip.
What?
The first time I charge into battle as a bear, I want a smoke entrance.
Yeah, I can do that.
And fireworks.
I can do that too.
Done.
You know, one time we were putting on a children's play at the workhouse, and we used one of those to great effect to create an intimidating-looking foggy forest. I think your idea is a wonderful idea, Fee.
I also need a bard. I need entrance music too.
I think I can do that too.
When you all approach the workhouse, there's no one standing out front. It's pretty late at this stage. But you do see that there's some candlelight coming from inside the building.
Jules will attempt to open the door.
Opens right up for you. You hear the soft murmur of people talking in the dying hours of the day. A couple people raise their heads up from their bunks that are in the opening hallway and look towards you before turning back to talk with each other.
Are there any house servants or anything like that? People who are actually up and about doing duties?
Does not appear so. In fact, when you all walk in, the first bed that you pass right there, sort of in the foyer of the building, is Chris's bed that she's asleep in. She sort of turns a little bit when you all walk in, but otherwise she stays asleep, laying down there.
Jules will walk over and gently rouse her shoulder by the shoulder.
She jerks a little bit as she wakes up and looks up at you.
Sorry.
Not who I thought was waking me up.
Who were? Well, that's not my business. I have need to see Gregor, and we have need of a room that could be used to tame a member or a fallen member of our faith.
She kind of groggily sits up in her bed, turning to bodily face. Is everyone inside the building, by the way? Anyone not
I
going?
am.
Okay. She turns and looks at everyone there. Some of them are brand new faces for her. But you instantly see her eyes go straight to Munkter. Holy shit.
Yep.
Let me get Gregor. You can take him to the basement. Last door all the way down. There is there's a trap door to go down to the basement. It's noticeable though, you won't miss it.
Okay.
Well,
I'll carry Munkter down there.
She jumps up and starts making her way upstairs.
I will wait here in the lobby for Chris if you all would be willing to accompany Alara just in case. We want to make sure this man is totally detained.
I'll certainly go with her.
As you all move through the hallway, again, the hallway is lined by bunk beds the entire way. There's open doors that lead to other parts of the workhouse, but a few people are still up and they watch you as you pass. And you can just hear them whispering, like when they see Munkter, they're like, "Oh, what happened to Munkter? Oh, he looks really beat up. I guess he finally got what was coming to him." Things like that. Very, very sort of gossipy squawks between people. Before you get into the back kitchen, and then, like she said, there is a very noticeable trap door that you can just open up and go down into the cellar for the building.
Okay.
Jules, after probably
do
about
that.
5 minutes, Chris comes back down with Gregor. He's wearing some night clothes, also, as he's carrying a small candle on a little tray, with a sleeping bonnet kind of thrown over his head. Munkter's here.
Yes. And I'll actually hold up the holy symbol. That the cracked one. He had plans that would involve harming the faith and its relationship with the city. The total extent of those plans we are not fully aware of, and I would be remiss to discuss in such an open place.
No, we could go to where you took him.
Yes, that would actually probably be the best, as I am exhausted of my blessings today.
Do you still look like trash?
Shall we? Yeah, Jules like Jules is not like bleeding everywhere or anything, but he looks haggard, and the light is very much dimmed in his eyes.
He nods sympathetically, and he puts a hand up on your shoulder. He says, "You went through a trial this evening, Father, and I understand those trials and strength they can take out of us. Know that my strength is your strength. Heal 18 hit points."
Thank you.
Let's get to the others.
Smile and say, "Power to you." Yes.
And him and Chris and you will all head downstairs to where the others are. Think classic sort of root cellar here, guys. There's shelves of pantry and food and dry goods, barrels of different things. It's a cellar. That keeps in storage down here. It's nothing much, but it's what they got. For those of you who have not met him or her, so first off, Chris is a half-orc woman, very bulky woman. She has one sharp tooth coming up above her lip. The other one is cracked, but slowly kind of coming up off her left side. And then Gregor is an older human man, salt and pepper hair, as he looks around at you all. Some of you seeing for the very first time. Well, I'm always welcoming to guests in our home, though I'm apologizing for the circumstances.
I apologize, Father Gregor. These are, and I'll introduce everyone by name.
true pleasure to meet all of you. Anyone who is friends of
Likewise.
Jules and Alara are friends of ours here in the workhouse. So Munctor, poor Munctor. He walks over to where you have Munctor laid up against a wall, tied up. And he places a hand on Munctor's head. I knew things were wrong with him, and I tried my best to give him guidance before he turned his back here. Can you tell me what happened further when you went to visit? Obviously nothing good.
Yes. Alara and I, felt a need to retrieve our compatriots. We entered into what they had established as a kind of underground workhouse, if you will. Establishment of people who were working towards a common goal. And as we introduced ourselves, Munctor became increasingly hostile, as well as a necromancer he had aligned with, and a
What a shame.
practicer of shadow magic. To that end, when Alara, my memory is failing me. Too many hits to the head. He wanted us to leave.
He wanted us to leave. He would not listen to us regarding Gillespie or the teachings of Gillespie. He would not cooperate or communicate in any logical or common reasonable manner. I ended up discerning that his goals were less than noble, because there is a place for the Star Chasers in this world. What they were utilizing, what they were doing was not what was essentially heretical. They refused to talk, came down to blows. Their faith was found wanting.
I would be a fool to discount the value of violence. Naked aggression has solved more problems in our world than any other force ever has, fortunately. While their means were perhaps not within the faith, their aspirations certainly were. I'm only ashamed that
Not
Munctor
necessarily.
could not be driven towards a more noble pathway. But you didn't kill him.
No, because it is not, for multiple reasons. One, because I don't feel it was necessarily our place, and two, because we do need to interrogate them.
Well, you certainly have use of the workhouse. You two, by your very standing, have free use of the workhouse whenever you need it. If you believe that there was something more that Munctor had planned that could harm the community, I'll offer whatever assistance I can in the endeavor.
Is it possible that you have access to the blessings of Zone of Truth?
Not currently, but in the morning I can.
If you would be willing to, I expect that I will need to preserve some of my abilities for our evening's activities. But a questioning session in the morning would be beneficial to all of us.
Absolutely. And I kind of put my arm around Jules, kind of seeing how he's starting to sag and almost weaken with both exhaustion and, exhaustion. Big E and little E. We simply, in this moment, require a place to hold him so that we may get our rest, to then further question him in the morning.
You can stay here. I will
I appreciate
make sure
it
he is
greatly.
watched.
I
What of
have a
the
concern.
Oh, yes, sir. Looks at Imnos.
I am worried if one of his there is one of his compatriots or potential compatriots. I am worried they may try to free him. And if they do, they command powerful illusory magic.
Well, there are a few people who can walk into this building that Chris is unable to sense.
Very good.
If they are powerful
I
enough
simply
to
wanted you to be
elude...
aware.
Go ahead.
I simply wanted you to be aware of the potential for more complications.
If they're powerful enough to elude Chris's gaze, then there are much bigger problems that we will have that we wouldn't be able to face anyways. Hopefully that will not be the case.
Very well.
I
I simply
will-
didn't want to risk you being caught unaware.
I appreciate the information.
I will stay here tonight if a member of the faith could bring some bedding down here for me.
It can be provided.
I want to say, Gregor, I disagree with something you said earlier, and I don't mean to misspeak in your house, but you said that violence has changed more things in this world than any other force. I disagree. Love and kindness has made many changes that, while violence can change the face of a continent, it is love that can change a life. It is much easier, much simpler to give, but creates so much more wondrous things in this world. You should not discount it.
I do not discount it, but violence is a tool. Emotion is a fuel. Emotion wields violence like
True.
a cudgel sometimes. That was all that I meant. I would
This is a
certainly much rather have...
conversation- This is a
love be
conversation
what
we could have as philosophers for ages.
We could. You all are weary. If anyone would like to remain here, I'll make sure bedding is provided for you. But otherwise, I'll make sure in the morning I am prepared to pull what answers we can from Munkter that he will be willing.
I greatly appreciate your generosity and service.
Of course.
Jules,
Yes.
are you confident here, or would you like any of us to remain with you?
I am confident that Chris in the house will keep me safe. As it stands, a member of our flock has fallen, and he needs a father's touch.
Watch where he was walking.
Do please call on us if anything goes wrong.
Certainly, you will now. I will meet you all when you return here in the morning.
Absolutely. All right. We'll come back here first thing in the morning then.
Very good.
All right. Is there any business people need to do over the evening into tomorrow morning? Is there anything folks want to do other than go back to the inn, get some sleep, eat breakfast, and come back?
You
think
skipped
I'm
the
gonna
get
get
drunk
yelled
before
at.
bed.
It did sound that way.
Doesn't Fee need to go to a...
I need to go get a drink, and I need to have a long conversation with my ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
I mean, you can certainly have that conversation. You know that the tavern that you all are staying in with the inn is certainly open throughout the evening, as the Sea of Gold is most notably always open in a lot of ways. So you can certainly have a drink and have a conversation. Feel free to have that.
Good. I was gonna take you to the fancy bar, but it's getting late. So I'll get the drinks, you sit down, and we're gonna start talking.
Just us?
I mean, anybody else can join us, but you're gonna have to explain some things to me.
Help me.
I'm getting more drinks.
Sounds like you got this.
This sounds somewhat private.
I disagree because it may affect the party dynamic. Her emotions aside, we can discuss in private, but the matter that I believe she wishes to discuss is not something I'd prefer to keep secret from the party.
I
Okay.
should
As you wish.
I should probably clean up before I spend the night here, so I will accompany you back, but I will be sleeping here tonight.
Hi. All right, so let's head back to the end then.
Mm-hmm.
You all very easily managed to get yourselves back.
Oh, what was the name of our inn again?
That
Morning
would be the
Cock.
Morning Cock.
Akko's so forgetful.
Oh yeah, totally.
Is that a wooden structure?
Mostly wooden, with some hard stone built in.
Does it stand tall and proud in the morning?
It does, like a beacon on the eastern horizon.
Do we know when the building was erected?
All right, enough of the dick jokes.
Yes.
Does the
let's
bartender
move
greet us
on.
with a bulbous salutation when we walk through the door?
All right, we move
Akko.
on. Conversation.
Bring booze. Kip, sit down. Start talking.
Akko goes to the bar and gets booze and bar food.
You're gonna have to be a
Booze.
lot more specific than that.
Provided.
Let's start talking about you being an apprentice or an assistant to someone important at the hold.
I mean, that's largely a matter of perspective, but yeah.
What part is the perspective that they're important?
Hi.
All right, you're an apprentice to a warden
Oh yeah, that.
at the hold.
Hi.
Were you going to tell us this?
Eventually.
Eventually, as in like in the next day or so, or eventually like on your deathbed as you're holding my hand, telling me that you've led a wonderful life. Oh, and by the way, I was an apprentice to a warden at the hold.
Well, two things there. First of all, at that point, I would most likely be a warden myself. And secondly, wait, what was your point again? Oh, when would I tell you? Likely somewhere between the two scenarios.
That is
Oh.
hopefully, but not likely, a very large span of time.
Well, for you, for me,
As you said yourself, Kip, such things are matter of perspective.
Hey, so more importantly, the reason I did it, as you all might recall, I had a choice when we graduated. I could be in exile permanently, or I could join the hold as a member of the Imperium. Those were my choices. I made a deal with the professor that if I was to join, I would only do so under the auspices of becoming a warden eventually.
What does being a warden mean? What difference would that make?
Authority, mostly. A large degree of autonomy. As a rank and file member, there isn't a lot of change that I can enact on the hold. As a warden, I could affect change from the inside. And nothing dastardly at that. I would just have more power and authority to affect positive change in an organization that is largely looked at askew. I would have the autonomy to not murder children or their families because they're unregistered casters and take them into the auspices of the hold. I would have the ability to function as I saw fit, or to the best of my abilities.
But you don't have that autonomy now.
No, I mean, I had to start somewhere.
So in all likelihood, we could face a situation where you might have to murder a child.
Unlikely, unless he cast necromancy, and even then, taking him into the hold for summary judgment and hopefully retraining is the most desirable outcome. If it came down to a matter of defending myself or your lives, then yes, I would kill him in a heartbeat.
Plus, I mean, if we're being paid, child, rat, what's the difference?
Akko.
Huge fucking difference.
Well, first of all, the number of fucking legs, Akko.
Even as a joke, Akko, that's in somewhat poor taste.
No, that's actually quite in keeping with for a fucking dragon.
A
A
rat is
I mean,
like
a child on
Luna's
all
dinner,
fours.
and a child is kind of like Luna. There's a
ladder.
difference.
A ladder is most easily moved from the top or from the bottom. The
Hey.
middle is where the weight is hardest to adjust. I think your move was admirable, Kip.
Out of the choices that I had, it by far seemed the best.
So what does this mean, Kip? What does this mean for us? And not us, you, me, because that's a completely different discussion, but us, like, collectively.
It means that we have advantages that other adventuring crews might not have. It means that I have a clear chain of command that I have to follow, but I had that anyway as a member of the Hold. It means that if I continue to impress Warden Dunkle, that my autonomy and authority continues to grow, and those privileges will expand, which may lead to more lucrative ventures, obviously bounties, which I was unaware of, but 500 gold is not a fucking sharp stick in the eye.
And a
Although
free
It was
smoke
rather a
bomb.
pleasant surprise.
And also the ability to affect change. Eventually, the old guard will die out.
I'm curious about the change you wish to effect, but I suspect that's a longer conversation.
Well, it's largely been covered. It all comes down to autonomy. As rank and file, I don't have the power or the authority to make any change. I follow the rules, and that's it. Wardens have an incredible amount of leeway when enforcing the dictums of the Hold. It may be that I can use my position to save lives rather than steal them away from their families. Were it up to me, and I was given the order to go take this child because he's exhibiting arcane abilities, and he's not a registered member of the Hold, go. If his family resists, deal with it. Well, now I know that for a budding caster, being taken away from your family is a less desirable outcome, but now I know that there's a place for them at the academy. And for a lot of children, I couldn't think of a better upbringing. They'll receive an education, skills,
Three hots
backing.
and a cot.
Exactly, which is more than most kids who grow up being street casters.
Regardless how you look at it, I think this was a very good idea for Kip. It's his life, his decision, all of that stuff. I'm pretty big on free will when it comes to that, but also it allows everyone else who may look at the Hold in a different light to try to understand why the Hold does what they do, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And maybe, as Kip has said, enact change in the future. I think this is a prudent move when you're looking at a macro scale rather than a micro scale.
Kip, you realize that this completely changes things between the two of us, right?
We can discuss that at a later time. On a similar note to the previous discussion, though, you may have noticed in my bag of tricks, I basically have a hammer and two other larger hammers. In my research, I've come across a path that I can follow that would allow me to expand my skills in a way that might be disturbing to most, but would be very effective in non-violently ceasing conflict.
More disturbing than you pretending to be a fucking demon?
Not dissimilar.
Great.
I found mentions in a book, and I'll be looking into it as a way to wield fear as a non-violent weapon. And if it's possible, it's likely a path I'll be pursuing.
Fine.
Fear
I'm
can
going to
certainly
bed.
be a powerful deterrent.
A way to end conflict before it comes to death and violence. So there's that. How's everyone else doing?
But we don't
Um,
necessarily. We can always skip some of the death, but do we really need to skip the violence?
Echo, are you okay?
I mean, the fight is half the fun, right?
He hasn't
Anybody
killed
else just
anything
like-
in like 6 hours.
Are you going to deny Luna the ability to sink her teeth into the necks of bad people all around the Imperium and
I
half of the Accords?
I think Akko's goal is to eventually ride Luna into battle.
I mean, I could do that right now.
We would have to grow Luna a little bit more, but yes.
Or
No, we
shrink
wouldn't. We wouldn't
Akko.
have to. Akko casts Alter Self and turns it into a forest gnome, or a forest halfling.
I'm
It's
sure
just
we
like
can
a
rig up a
Just
rig
pop
up a
and
saddle
shrink.
to her armor.
Where's Luna?
So
Right.
how many days to the gala?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we have. I look at the clock. 16 hours.
So we're gonna need, for our casters at least, we're gonna need a fair rest this
Yep.
evening.
I'm going to bed.
There are also still a lot of answers we lack.
Aye, but hopefully the interrogation will yield some of those.
Depends on how much you knew.
We have time, but before the gala, we need to decide what our exit strategy is going to be if something we did not foresee goes awry. So think about that in the next however many hours.
That's
I
a
have-
breakfast conversation.
Yep.
I have just the invocation for an exit. Y'all might be familiar with it.
Oh no.
Is it Shatter?
It's Shatter.
Very good.
Anyways, I'm going to bed.
Something to consider. My worry is this, Laura. If they were funded by this outside group and by this Drow child specifically, I think they were probably directed in towards what they were doing. We may have taken away some of the players involved, but we have not in any way removed the architect of whatever threat is to happen.
Alara, exhausted and fueled solely by the workhouse coffee and whatever adrenaline is still in her body, rolls her head and looks at Imnos and goes, I think that we eradicated the distraction, not the threat.
That's even worse, but yeah.
We're on the clock now, but I think tomorrow, in addition to the interrogation, we need to do everything in our power to find that child. I think what he grabbed may have been an answer that we're lacking.
It's clearly
Amongst
something
many.
important. But yes, we should get sleep now, but keep that in our minds.
Jules will. Alara, I'm assuming you're heading up the stairs.
Yes.
Jules is going to go to his room, grab most of his belongings. But a moment or two later, you hear a knock at your door.
Come in.
Do you have a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. What's up?
I have a favor to ask of you.
Yes.
And in doing this, I need you to understand that your relation. Hear me out. Your relationship with your father was different from most children's, I would imagine. But
oh goodness, I
so-
hope so.
So often a parent will ask something of a child without being able to explain fully what it is and why. And you see Jules take out some of his nice clerical garments, and he rips a pocket off of one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 requests of you.
Okay.
I'm going to give you something, and I need you to hold on to it. Only in the event of my death, death that I cannot be brought back from, should you look at this object. And you see Jules drop something into the pocket, and he pulls out his healer's kit, and he starts sewing it shut.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to vow to me that you will not look at this object unless I am dead or unless I ask you to do so.
I can make that vow. I vow by my faith, by your faith, and by the trials behind us and ahead of us that I will not look upon this without your express consent, or if you were in a position in which you were never able to give that consent again.
Jules will hand you a small sewn up pouch with a circular object inside of it. I also noticed a certain complexity in regards to how we refer to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I have often spoke of a traveling workhouse, which I think is an apt description for what we do in this world. I would like you to be the keeper of our workhouse.
This is a conversation I would like to have. This is not a conversation that we should be having right now because it involves a lot more, because I think we both have goals for the faith and what we would like to see. And
I want you to be my keeper. Think about it. We will have time to discuss it further. But do not be surprised.
Just real quick, for a note for Alara, you know the position that he's asking you to take is effectively the same position that Chris has for Gregor.
mm-hmm.
They are pure equals within the workhouse, with their own realms of things they take care of.
Mm-hmm.
That's effectively what he's asking you right now.
Yes.
Just so you know. Just to make sure it's very clear.
I know. I would like to talk with you in depth. This is not a decision I think either of us should make while we are both uppercase and lowercase exhausted. However, before you leave, can you please hand me back that broken seal? The broken symbol, holy symbol.
Jules will pull it out and look at it, and you notice tears well up in his eyes as he kind of sighs and hands it to you.
Wade, what is the holy symbol made out of?
That holy symbol is made out of silver. That's the one that Munkter had, correct?
This is the broken star chaser symbol, correct?
That Munkter had, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's composed, it's made of silver.
Okay.
Have you ever seen...
I'm going to try to break it in half. Wait.
Yeah, give me a strength check, please.
Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Metal's already cracked, easily folds under your grip, and with a clink, it snaps in half.
All right, I break it in half. I hand half of it to Jules.
He holds it close.
Whatever answer I give you tomorrow, I want you to know that you carry a strong value to me, not just in that you are a cleric and you have saved our asses so many times, but in that you are a true friend. Our faith aside.
Faith aside.
Now, please get some rest, Jules.
I will. I plan to sleep fully, and I feel the same. You remind me of kin, which is why I trust you as much as I do beyond the faith. I will.
Knowing you as I do, that is a great compliment, and I take it graciously. Thank you.
I look forward to working together hand in hand. I will be at the workhouse, and I'll see you all in the morning.
We will see you in the morning. Now, please go and get some rest. I don't care if someone is wounded on the side of the road. If you do not get some rest, you will be a detriment to not only myself and the rest of our compatriots, but probably everyone in this town.
I agree. One more thing, as I'm walking out the door, if you ever do need to look at that item, Fee will likely be of great assistance to you in regards to it.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Jules will leave and walk back to the workhouse.
Well, the otherwise, is there anything else that folks are looking to get done other than sleep?
Sorry,
I'm gonna get some damn sleep.
I'm intercepting Jules by waiting downstairs for him to leave.
See Jules kind of hobbling down the steps, holding onto the banister.
Hi, Padre.
Yes, Kip.
I won't take much of your time, but while you're at the workhouse, I know some of those people come from all walks of life. If you could get the word out for them to start looking for that child, it might save us quite a bit of effort in the morning.
That's a good idea. I'll speak to the youths. We'll get word out. Good thinking, Kip. You are a bright young man.
Thank you.
Proud of what you did today, and learning what you did in regards to the warden role and your reasoning behind it. It is clear that the goodness classes paid off. Remedial goodness.
Let's see if it pays off. But I'll see you in the morning.
Have a good evening, Kip.
Jules, one more thing before you leave.
Motherfucker.
He puts his hand on the bar. It smiles.
A shot's put down in front of you.
Bar calls from upstairs. I can still hear you, Jules. Go to bed.
Go adds a shot in front of him.
As he turns around, he scoops up the shot with his right hand and knocks it back. Yes, Akko.
You wouldn't happen to have any more of the old healing hands in your tank, would you?
I'll walk over to you. Where are you hurt, my son?
This hole that I have, I've had in my side since we left the building. It's still seeping some considerable ooze here. The alcohol's the only thing keeping him going at the moment.
Give me 1 moment.
Akko's down 10 hit points, but I mean that's a third of his hit points. So
I'm trying to find my medicine roll.
Heal.
Healing.
Akko feels like if 10 rats burst in the room and each nipped him, he would go under.
Let me apply some salves I have prepared. Perhaps this will help. Just do some basic first aid, Wade.
Yeah, you basically give him the effect of long-term care.
Okay.
So when he goes to sleep, he'll heal up all the way.
And I'll throw a couple cure minor wound cantrips on you, so at least 4.
That should do it.
No, cantrips aren't unlimited in this one.
They're not.
Right? Okay, never mind. Yeah, I'm out of healing energy, so that's all I can give you.
Oh well, if you're looking for cure minor, Wade, how many would I heal for a night like that? Would it be 2 per level, or 1 per level?
Believe it's 2. If it's cure minor, it's 1. Yeah, if it's cure minor,
no,
it's 1.
that's Well, no, I didn't mean the spell. I meant the sleeping. But basically,
Oh, yes.
I can whip out my. I have a wand of cure minor, which I can use.
Hey,
Jules
hey.
haven't bought me with.
Hey! Knock it off!
What?
Knock it off!
What?
I just walk over and I plop some berries in Akko's hand.
Oh! Are these
Always.
poison?
No, they're healing.
Now wash
Jules.
those down. Wash those down with whiskey and finish the whole plate.
Jules,
Berries
while
are, in
everyone's
fact, good.
while everyone's focused on Akko, you feel like you have a moment to just get out
I
of here.
sneak out.
Hey,
I
no,
sneak
no,
out.
no,
Done.
no!
I just want to point out our poll chosen by our viewers.
All right, Jules.
Oh, no.
19, I move silently.
You know what? Everyone, give me a
Well, sure, no,
perception
man.
roll. Everyone who's there, give me a perception roll. See what you bastards hear. Okay.
Damn it, Jules.
I just want to point out, Dave, Wade made me a
That's actually
moderator.
23.
So this is his fault, not mine.
Well, I
Oh
don't
man,
know
we're
how
not
to-
getting to the
Personal
gala tonight.
damage.
We are not getting to the gala tonight, you motherfuckers.
Not at this
All right.
rate.
With
Content.
the conditional modifier that's happening in the background, no one notices Jules slip away. As you all are focused on Kip, the noises that you guys are making, he manages to slip out while you all are distracted by your little dragon buddy.
You hate to see it happen.
You hate to see it happen. All right. Anything else anyone wants to try and get done tonight? It is late.
No.
You guys are probably pushing at around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. right now.
I am rolling to see how many berries I handed
Okay.
Akko real quick.
Hip
So-
looks around and realizes Jules is gone. He's like, damn it, I had one more thing to ask him. I better chase him.
Ask him in the damn morning.
Fine.
Akko, you get 3 berries.
Are they good berries?
They each heal him for a hit point.
So they're
Very
decent
good berries.
They're
They-
decent. Yes,
they're decent berries.
Yes, they're good berries. To answer
Yeah,
your
that's
question.
enough. I'll be at full in the morning.
All right. You all get sleep. You wake up in the morning. You all will be able to have your breakfast and everything else. Is anyone trying to do anything before heading back to the Gillespie Church?
Can I have one minor interruption?
You can have as many interruptions as you want.
During the sleeping, Akko wishes to sleep on the mountain of gold that we have currently.
There it
collected.
is.
Oh
Wait,
wow, I'm
you-
surprised this is the first time. I just assumed he
Fucking
was doing this
dragons.
the entire time.
We actually had a very important question for you, Wade.
Hold on one second. I want to respond to Akko's request. Akko, how much money are you sleeping on? What's the count?
Let's see. The party gold sits at 2630, and then Akko
Okay.
has about 250 on himself,
Okay, so roughly about 3K, right? About 3K?
roughly.
Yeah. You are going to get a plus 2 on the next roll that you make. Anytime in the next day, next 24 hours.
Just the next roll.
You just feel like confident, you feel power, you're like, man, my horde is growing. I'm doing good.
Akko,
Your
no.
little dragon
good
instincts are booming.
So our question about that, Wade, is
Yes.
John and I weren't sure. In your campaign, in your world, do we have to accommodate the weight of money, or is it considered to be weightless for the purpose of carrying capacity? Because otherwise, Akko's fucked.
I mean, I'm
you-
okay right now, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, you do have to accommodate for weight. That is
Okay.
absolutely something that you have to think about. Spread the gold out
Yep,
to the
that's what I
party
figured.
members, put it on saddlebags, buy a bag of holding or
We need an
haversack, but you
ATM.
gotta do something. Convert all to platinum for the time being. Precious gems. I don't care what you do, but it does have weight.
I suggested the platinum thing, but he said that's less to sleep on. So
I did say that.
That is technically true also. Just for note, 50 coins equals 1 pound. Doesn't matter if it's gold, copper, or
Yeah.
silver. Even though technically they do have different weights, that's just an easy way to do it.
So you're at about 60 pounds of gold.
Yeah, 55, 60 pounds, yeah. Which is comfortably within medium encumbrance for Akko. So, yeah. We'll have to do something about that before we go anywhere.
All right,
Oh
so
no,
you guys...
we have to buy magic items. Oh no.
Or convert the currency to gems.
That too.
Magic items.
At that point, we might as well just get gloves of holding for Akko that just hold the party gold. So he can literally hold his hand out and drop a mountain.
I mean, if we bought a haversack, that can hold, what, 8,000 gold on its own?
Yeah, roughly.
You can also just dole out that giant pile of gold to the party.
Well, yeah, that was the initial plan, so...
All right,
Wonder
so
if
you
the
all
hold offers
make your way
banking services.
back to the church,
I
correct?
think so.
Yes.
All right. Jules, you're awake for a little while. When you do awake down in the basement, you do see Munkter is awake. He's still tied up in his armor, but he's just sitting there looking down at his lap as he's leaned up against the wall. So you do have a few moments alone with him. You don't know exactly when your party's going to arrive.
Sure. I make sure that food is brought down for both of us. He looks tied up and held and everything.
Yeah, it looks like the knots that Laura tied are holding pretty true.
Good morning, my son.
He just keeps his
Are you
eyes
awake?
locked downward.
Are you awake? I'll use my. Is he in like a cell?
No, you guys are just in the basement.
He's just tied up in the corner. Okay.
Yeah, you guys literally, that's all you have him. There is no cell here. Like, this isn't a dungeon or anything like that.
I slept in an open room tied up or next to a tied up man. That was Jules is a little brave today. I will take the food over to him. Would you like to eat?
No.
Very well. How are you feeling?
Well, my head hurts.
You took a nasty fall in more ways than one.
Thanks for that.
I would have caught you had I been able. You see,
What good it does now.
There's always good that can be done, even in your position. We are not lost from a single action. I'd be
Why am I
happy to
alive?
teach you. Why shouldn't you be alive?
Would I be alive if I didn't crack my head against that stone wall?
Yes.
I don't think you have much say in that.
If I wanted to, I could end your life right now. I would choose not to, as it would serve no purpose. And I'm confident that you once stood proudly and rightly in the faith. Do you agree?
I've always done what I could to do right by those who were under my command.
And it's difficult to lead. That is a weight I know all too well. It is a heavy burden. And you have been through some difficult trials recently, from what I have heard.
Do you mean yourself?
No. You used to hold a position of a station, I believe, of some import.
I used to hold on to the stars.
And now you reached out to them again when you lost that position.
Now I'm in a filthy fucking basement.
You're in the basement of a workhouse.
That cast me out.
Whatever. Yes, I did. And I am equally troubled by this, by how it happened, which is why I slept down here.
What do you want?
I want to know why you were doing what you're doing and what your plan was.
I was trying to raise the stars of all of us who were brave enough to take up a blade to tear them from the sky.
Let me rephrase what I said. Outside of figurative speech, you had a plan of action. You had compatriots. And right now, you have a chance to change your stars, to rise out of this filthy basement and to begin living a life that will restore you in some ways and lead you on to another opportunity eventually to improve your stars.
All I have to do is tell you all my secrets, correct?
Not all of them. We all hold secrets, but and Jules will put a hand on his shoulder. I know that you have a good heart that is just driven hard. You seek to make the world a better place. This just wasn't the way to do it.
Make a diplomacy check for me.
Sure. And Jules will start spieling out a story of a time that he helped a convict from his home, turn his life around, etc., etc. 16?
He wearily looks up at you. The entire time he's been looking straight down at the ground. But he does cast a gaze up at you as you start telling the story. And at the same time, you all hear the clack of boards as the trap door opens up. And Gregor walks in, leading the rest of your party in. And everyone arrives on scene.
Would you like me to remove your helmet? I'm sure it's
I wouldn't mind if you did.
Take his helmet off for him. And a drink. I have water and other such things. You must be thirsty.
How about you cut me free of these ropes, and I'll drink myself.
A child does not start by running. It is first through crawling and walking. Your baby steps will be speaking and allowing me to care for you. After that, perhaps your ropes will be cut, but we must work through the process. But as you can see, your safety and your health, spiritual and physical, is my primary concern. And I will ensure, to the best of my ability, that you are treated fairly. And I'll look over to the rest of the group as they enter. You all see Jules on his knees, tending to the wounded man or the injured man.
Learn anything fun?
I've learned that he is a man of great devotion.
Hey, Wade,
Yes.
detect evil.
He is still radiating evil.
Okay.
No one and nothing else in your vision
His
is.
devotion isn't what concerns me.
Would somebody like to ask the questions that need to be asked. I will serve to ensure his safety, amongst other things. I do not
Okay.
feel it is appropriate for me to ask the questions, as I have offered him such assurances.
Hey, Wade,
Yes.
I'm going to detect magic and see. Kip is paranoid we're being scryed on, or this guy is being scryed on.
Okay. You cast detect magic, and you don't see any additional magic in the area other than what your friends are carrying.
Okay.
Plus, you can see that Gregor, his robes are magical.
Got it.
Gregor does look around. Do you want me to cast my spell now, or should I wait?
Now would be fantastic. Thank you, Gregor.
Wait, how much rope
You're
slack
muted,
is
Dave.
on the rope?
Go ahead, say it.
I might suggest.
1 second. Let Kip finish what he was asking me.
How much slack is on the rope Alara tied Munctor up with?
He's pretty tightly bound. She used all of the rope to get his feet, his hands, everything.
Okay. Kip just reaches into a pocket and pulls up a folded piece of paper that looks like a scroll. And he's just holding it in his hand, waiting.
Okay. Jules?
What is that scroll, Kip?
Oh, in case he tries to get away, I planned on animating the rope.
I can also assure such things.
Or,
Laura,
choke him to death with it, either or.
I was going to suggest giving Munctor the chance to speak truth. We know some facts that he does not know that we know, and should he stumble, then we should employ magics to ensure the truth is reached. But I want to give him a chance to speak true on his own.
No offense, Jules, but we don't really have the time to play nice with this.
I'm afraid she's right.
I am actually inclined to agree with them, Jules. Just in this case, cooperation will start him on that path. Putting trust at the moment, it's not about lack of trust, it's about getting things out as fast as possible.
Jules will lean over to Munctor again and say, "You hear their reasoning, and I am inclined to agree with my keeper. So understand what the compulsion will be, but know that it is knowable whether or not you are attempting to turn over this new leaf." I'll look over to Gregor and nod.
Gregor walks over, and he looks down at Munctor with a very sad look. And then he begins weaving a spell. You all start watching as the candlelight in the area starts dimming for a moment before flaring with flame. And I'm going to need a will save from everybody.
I allow it to take effect. I don't resist.
Okay. Yeah, if you were trying to fight the spell that Gregor is casting, will save, please.
I think reflexively so.
Agor just rolls on principle.
All right. Let's see.
But how would a roll like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be a 16
Right?
now.
Kip, you are the only one who succeeds. You are not compelled to tell the truth while you are here. Just to be very
The
clear
serial
about
liar,
this.
yes.
Yeah. So everybody else, each potentially affected creature is allowed to save to avoid the effect. Affected creatures are aware of this enchantment. Therefore, they may avoid answering questions to which they would normally respond with a lie, or they may be evasive as long as they remain within the boundaries of the truth. So you can't speak an outright lie here, is basically what it comes down to. You're not forced to tell the
But
truth.
you can choose not to answer.
Yes.
It is truth, not deception, correct?
They can be evasive in their answer, but their evasiveness can't be a
Yep.
lie. Now Munkter gets to roll. All right. He looks back down at the ground.
Very tempted to ask him if he has any candy. I believe that's one of 3 questions you should ask someone.
Always.
So everybody loved the name Baby Worms, right?
No.
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 Aku dejected just turns around.
I absolutely loved that name.
I would have told you that without a spell, dipshit.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure.
I feel a little bad saying it, I'll be honest.
I
All right, at this
absolutely
point-
love that name.
Quick pause. This spell does have a timer on it, and I'm keeping that timer starting now.
How long is that timer? Just
You have no idea. You know it's
Great.
ranked in minutes.
all right.
But that's it.
Excellent. Munkter, what was your plan regarding the Star Chasers and the gala this evening?
None of your business.
No, it is literally my business.
Quite literally.
So that would be
our business.
That would be a lie because it is our business.
But he doesn't perceive it as a lie because he doesn't believe it's your business.
Well, Aku was just saying that out loud.
If you're interested in
Gregor
any
replies.
path to redemption,
Oh,
Go ahead, Joel.
then you should cooperate with us.
I
This
have
is your
no
chance.
interest in your redemption.
what do you have interest in?
None of your business.
Sad.
Who was the one who funded your endeavors?
We had many patrons.
Yep, there was one unlike the others, wasn't there?
If Gillespie did
Were
not
you-
approve of my plans, he would have shut me down before I ever began them.
Not necessarily true.
By
I
that
mean,
logic, he did shut you
clearly
down.
he didn't approve of your plans because we intervened. Were you given knowledge of the guest list?
Why?
Yes or no? Were you given knowledge of the guest list?
I don't have to answer these questions the way that you want me to. If you want to continue with your intimidation, then I simply won't answer anything else moving forward.
Monk.
How long did you work with Francis?
Several years.
Where did you meet him?
In my former lord's house. He was a house mage for them.
Who was your former lord?
I think you already know the answer to that question.
That's what I was thinking.
So this was not simply about reclaiming your rightful place. This was about revenge for you, wasn't it?
It's about making things right.
How did you lose your station?
I was framed.
By whom?
I don't know who.
How were you? What happened? How did they frame you?
Roll diplomacy for me.
I would like to use my journal entry reroll.
Go ahead.
Nope. Right.
He looks away. Bad business.
What were you accused of?
Why do you want to know?
We wish to discern the truth of this entire proceeding.
Isn't that
we
what your spells are
understand
for?
what truly transpired. Our spells are a tool. Without your cooperation, they're only so effective. You can make all of this more right by helping us.
If we know what you were accused of and who tried to frame you, then we might be able to put pieces together and in a way write your name, or at least give you some peace of mind after the fact.
Give you the course to correct your stars.
Jules is clearly invested in something better for you here. And the rest of us back him. You gain nothing by antagonizing us.
Contrary to popular belief, you are not our target to eradicate right now.
To be completely honest with you, Monctor, I could care less about this entire situation. So if you answer the questions truthfully, I will 100% guarantee that I will release you and see you safely out of the city. Love check.
Hold on. Pause timer. All right. He looks up at Kip as Kip says that, and then he kind of cocks a brow and then snorts derisively. Clearly not believing what Kip is offering.
I look at Kip like he's crazy.
He turns and looks at Alara. How many of my men did you kill?
1.
And the rest of you?
In total, there were 4.
Didn't we stabilize a bunch of them?
3 were not able to be stabilized, plus the mage. That would be 4.
Yeah. I directly killed the one. The mage.
And I attended to as many as I could.
Also, given your position, you probably shouldn't be claiming that 4th one anyway. Talking to him, not to Alara.
What do you mean?
I mean, given that your position as a follower of a paragon and you were, conspiring with a necromancer to overthrow a lord, I mean, that's kind of really evil.
A necromancer? What are you talking about?
Oh, aye. Your lad Francis was a necromancer.
Yeah.
I've never seen him conjure the dead.
He had a number of spells in his spell book, and we turned it over to the hold, so...
Monctor, I saw the spells, and I have not resisted the compulsion of the Stone of Truth. I will tell you now, he was a necromancer.
Whatever he was loyal, as were the men that you killed.
And who was the drow boy?
A patron.
A recent patron, no? Only a few months?
Seems you know the whole score.
Only a bit. I want to know why. I want to know who. Let me...
Why?
Yes.
I would assume that he hoped that there was a payoff.
Are you certain? Are you certain there wasn't more to it?
I can't know the motivations of every single creature.
But he didn't share anything with you?
He wanted onto the grounds. He wouldn't interfere with what we came there to do. We wouldn't interfere with what he came there to do.
He seemed very interested in a particular scroll in the aftermath of the battle. Can you tell us what was on that scroll?
Francis had many scrolls. Arcane gibberings.
How did you
and such.
contact the boy?
I didn't. He always came to us.
Who did?
The boy.
Found you wherever you were?
We were always in the same place. It wasn't that hard.
What name did he give you?
Not one I cared to repeat.
Monctor. Please. We're trying to help you and to help others.
If you truly still wish to change your stars, to change to change the cards that have been dealt to you up to this point, you are at a crossroads. You can work with us and become and put yourself on the path to redemption in the eyes of Gillespie, or you can continue to fight forward. It doesn't matter one way or another to us directly, because regardless, we have thwarted that plan. However, you can help save lives that are affected by those within this house, to save the lives of those in this house, potentially. You can help change the course of so much and thus change your own stars. All you need to do is cooperate with us. If you choose not to, there is nothing we can do. We will have no further say in your fate. That is up to the people in this workhouse and not us. It's up to you. Do you wish to cooperate or not?
I will not cooperate with those who sully their blades with the blood of their faithful.
Jules is going to pull out the half-holy symbol. Your symbol cracked when I called you out upon your heresy. Those who served under you may have been felt that they had been following in the faith, but your path was corrupted, whether you wanted it to be or not. Do not use good works as a shield to hide evil deeds.
You all feel the magic of the zone fade.
How would that make you any different from the nobility that you fight against?
Our blades were not aimed to kill you all. I told my men to capture you. In return, you struck them down dead in their own house. Why would I cooperate with you? The only reason I was defeated is because I was too kind. As he looks towards Jules.
Let me ask you this. Your plan to attack the gala, was it yours initially, or did your patron suggest it to you?
It was mine. No one else's.
Do I think he's being straight with us?
Give me a sense motive check.
Can anyone roll sense motive there?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Look at all those 20s.
22, 10. I think Imnos cracked the code on this one.
Yeah, apparently.
15.
I
Were
doesn't
these
care.
rolls when I was doing diplomacy?
Right. So everyone doesn't get the vibe from him that he has a reason to lie right now. He's not acting like someone who is nervous about his answer. He's not exhibiting any tails. He just looks defeated in a lot of ways. But he does seem to still have some very strong anger that's keeping him from participating to a full way.
Imnos, a dark elf would be part of the Under Senate, correct?
I believe so, typically.
We have another lead that we haven't checked on that we can check before the party.
Exactly. I was hoping that we would after this.
We should go visit the Minotaur.
Hey, Wade.
Yes. 1 second, real quick. Fee, you know that yes, dark elves would probably have more proclivity to the Undersenate, or to the conclave in the Underdark. But you do know that there are some dark elves in the Accords. Like, you've met one already in your time traveling with your friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would be more probably the proclivity of the Undersenate.
Okay.
What is it, Kep?
17 knowledge religion. Would I know basics about the paladin class?
I mean, what are you trying to know?
That if his alignment changed and he didn't lose his paladin abilities, that means he's worshiping a new deity. When your alignment changes that far from your chosen deity, you lose all paladin class abilities, which he hasn't, which means he's following a new deity.
Well, you don't know if he's lost his powers or not. You haven't seen him exhibit any powers at this stage. Not since
we
the
saw
fight.
him cast, which is we saw him cast.
Yeah, during the fight, yeah, you saw him cast spells. You did see him cast a spell.
Right.
He wouldn't necessarily lose access to his divines until he commits like an egregiously evil act. Like
it's also assuming that
faithful.
It's also assuming that Gillespie is a good patron. Like he is a good deity. He could be a neutral deity. Like you're not aware of that so much, Kip. You know that he does a lot of good acts. Outright evil, like chaotic evil, is probably way outside of his realm. But someone who may be lawful evil may be just enough within that spectrum to exist within that faith, depending on what they're trying to accomplish. It's a
and also like
edgy life to live.
He would have to be lawful to be a paladin.
Stories about paladin falls are kind of fuzzy narrative territory to begin with. So like, I wouldn't hold fast to the rule set here in trying to determine how things went.
Right, but yeah, if he would no longer be a paladin if he was not lawful good, is what I'm saying. He would be a gray guard or a black guard.
Unless Wade has relaxed that restriction.
Fair.
Yeah. So you know that he was exhibiting things while you were fighting him that were a paladin. He was clearly calling on Gillespie during the fight and was being answered during the fight. That's the best I can give you right there.
You know, Munctor, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh, God.
The Star Chasers have always held a strong place in my heart, and your actions thus may have harmed the faith in ways that may become irreparable should we not be able to get to the bottom of this. But I will pray for you. And Jules stands up and starts walking out of the room.
Alara will approach Munctor. Is he sitting, I'm assuming?
Yeah, he's tied up on the ground.
He is sitting.
Yeah.
Or, on the ground. I will crouch down and she will lean and put her hand on his cheek so he can look at her. If he pulls away, that's fine. She's not going to force him. I want you to know, while I disagree with your actions, and while I disagree potentially with the motives, I do forgive you, even if you might not see things the same way I do. I want you to know that I will not force you any further to interact with myself or others. Your will is your own. But that means the choices you make and the consequences thereof are still your own as well.
He shakes his head to cast your hand off of his cheek. Then go and take your forgiveness with you. You will never know our plight.
Lara will stand. She will turn and she will walk out.
I've got one more question for you. You say we, and you're the Gillespie follower. I assume that you purport to care about the little people, the common folk.
You can only do great good by helping those under you.
So I'm curious then if you have considered the fact that your benefactor's goal in this gala might be a political assassination, and that considering the people who will, the guest list of this particular event, that may result in a war, a very large one, that the Imperium may very well lose. I'm just curious if that was ever something that crossed your mind. Probably didn't.
These
Just wondering.
political actors living in their ivory towers upon the coastline that has been built by our hands deserve every blade that comes to them. And if
If you
war
know-
is what it takes for us to raise from the depths, then a war it should be.
Oh, no,
If
I'm,
you think
I'm
it
with you.
is,
I'm with you on the noble part. Like they can do whatever they would like to do to piss off and give me all of their money. That's not the problem. My concern then was with your hypocrisy regarding the common folk who will thusly be mowed down like wheat.
Oi, Akko, refresh my memory. What are the inscripted ranks usually in a war?
The poor people.
Primarily the poor people.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, they're the cannon fodder that die in waves like wheat.
Yeah,
If
when
you
when
think it is the
10,000 people die on a
nobles-
battlefield, it's the poor people.
if you think it is the nobles who will suffer primarily if this comes to war, then you're a bigger fool than I thought.
The copper armies will rise again, as they did in Gillespie's day.
Knowledge of what a copper army is.
Yeah, roll knowledge religion. Or knowledge history if you have it. One of the two.
Well, I got both and they're the same, so.
Akko, you have a direct message on Zoom.
17 religion,
I saw
24
that.
history, nice Hymnos.
Roll there. Boom.
7. Jules, you
Actually,
want
I'm
to
gonna
roll?
re-roll that. I'm gonna use my re-roll because I want to actually know what this is.
Roll it.
That's better.
Anybody else do any rolls?
Nope.
Okay. So Kip and Akko, you are both familiar a little bit with the phrase of copper armies. It specifically has to do with legions or army units that are made out of entirely low-born people. They are effectively copper, right? They're a plenty, the mass, low quality. So they're called copper armies because they don't have any great skills. That's how the nobility looks at platoons put together out of these conscripted people during times of war. So you're familiar with that phrase in that aspect. Imnos, you know that several times in the past, copper armies have been used more in line with religious armies, because typically the followers make up a greater mass in religious warfare out of the low-born people. And copper army specifically was first coined during the time of Gillespie's rising, when he attained his patronhood and ascended to become a god from a mortal man. His army was first called the Copper Army because it was composed of nothing but lowborn. And anyone who wanted to join his army had to denounce their nobility in order to join him and his warriors. And it's not an
Perhaps there
officially
will-
used title anymore.
Perhaps, as you say, there will be a revolution and a crusade, but not today.
Your armies might rise, but what is the cost that you pay for individuals who fall? And if it makes any difference to you, I would have killed you, but they stopped me, and I'll just leave.
Laura?
Laura already left the room. Are you poking your head out?
Yeah, I'll poke my head out.
What's up?
Did you take a peek at his innermost essence?
Mm-hmm.
Bad?
No change.
No, I don't know what to begin with.
Oh, I mean, bad is subjective. He is currently
The opposite
Evil.
end of you.
yes.
Hi, and refresh my memory. If that happens, you can no longer be a paladin. So what is he?
It depends on the paragon.
I was under the impression that was a stringent of being a paladin.
It depends on the paragon because it is a paragon's decision whether or not to take that away.
You're muted, Wade.
let me step in real fast. In the core rule set of D&D, a paladin has to be lawful good. That is not true in this particular world. It depends on the god that they serve. So if their god is a god of good, they have to be lawful
they're like
good.
clerics.
If they're a god of evil, they have to be lawful
Okay.
evil, or they have to be within the spectrum, like within a step. So a
I
lawful
was-
neutral
well-
god could be all three. They could have people who serve them all three spectrum.
I was
Paladins are
extremely unaware of
effectively-
that because that was their class fallback. So, or their
You
class
could just say
flaw.
cleric rules and we'll get it.
Yeah, except they have the
Divine
added notion of
champions.
they have to have the added notion of being lawful. However, they always have to be lawful something in the spectrum. That's their one alignment caveat that I.
The one thing I'm going to say on top of that is sometimes it takes a little while for those things to get adjusted as well. For a paragon or god to strip that, usually it's thematically appropriate.
Yeah. So
Aye.
to your characters, knowing about paladins, they would know that they are lawful because they follow the stringent laws of their faith, but on the good, neutral, evil axis, that can be dynamic.
Okay, I thought that's what Grey Guard and Black Guards were for, so I was confused.
Yeah, it makes it difficult though because those are PRCs. So it's hard to be that at the base levels. So that's why I kind of made that change.
So,
Gotcha.
Kip,
Aye.
what essentially is he's currently in a position where what he chooses to do and how he chooses to be is currently under trial, and we can't affect that right now. Not as Munkter is now. As I meant what I said when I said he is at a crossroads.
Hey. I don't have high hopes for him.
Who knows?
Regardless, I don't think we can waste any more time with him at the moment.
I don't think so as well. We have a lot we need to do, and I think investigating the situation regarding the Undersenate is important at the moment.
If he was correct, I think that's probably our strongest lead for the time being.
I greatly agree.
I'm gonna
All
quick
right.
roll a wonder save to see if
Were
I
you
do
s-
something stupid.
Looks
No,
like
I'm
you're
good.
doing good.
I
All
look
right.
at the scroll, I look at the ropes, and I just make direct eye contact with Munkter for a very uncomfortably long period of time. And then
He stares back at you, and give me an insight check, or give me a sense motive. Sorry.
okay.
You talked about what the scroll was in front of him, so you know he knows what that scroll is. So
Yep.
as you're locked eyes with him, he stares right back at you, and it's almost like it's clear to you that he's saying, "I dare you." And that's where we're going to take our first break for the evening, everybody. So we will be back in 10 minutes. Stay with us, everyone who's watching. And 10-minute break. And welcome back, adventurers. We are back from our break. They have just completed the interrogation of Munkter, I believe. What would you adventurers like to do now? What is your next step?
If you could just quick reiterate what happened before the pause.
Kip, holding a scroll of animate rope, which he has already expressed out verbally a desire to use to choke or hurt Munkter, as Munkter is tied up, was eyeballing Munkter very hard, and Munkter returned the gaze with a very much of a "do it, I dare you" kind of look.
I will slowly pocket the scroll, just look back at him and be like, you can take this time to work on your footwork. Might take a nasty fall.
He just looks down. He just looks down at that.
Have a good life, you fuck. Have a good life, you fuck.
Would have been a waste of a scroll. He probably would have enjoyed it anyway. Hey, Laura, I got a question for you.
I have an answer for you. Let's put them together and see if they fit.
Ew. When you do the eye thing, and you stare into the innermost being of a person, as Kip put it. Can you point out to people when people set that off, and you're like, oh, this is a bad person?
I can.
Can we have like a sign that you do, like you point at somebody, you just kind of point at your eye, like evil eye?
My safe word's mommy.
Or just tell us you want some pancakes.
All right.
Tell us that person wants pancakes, so that I can smite them.
How about I just motion towards them with my head, and then make a finger symbol for you, because generally it's a widespread area. So you would need to determine who I am talking about.
Are we still talking about paladin stuff, or are we going to a brothel?
It's what?
Yes.
We can talk about paladin stuff on the way to a brothel.
Why don't we move towards wherever we are going?
We need to go to the south side of the city.
So yes, I can tell you. I just want to make something very clear. Just because someone may or may not be evil doesn't determine whether or not they are right or wrong.
Well, no, but it does determine if the Rage of Bahamut smites them. So
that's fair. I can do that. Yes.
I should also point out that someone's inclinations or proclivities are not necessarily a good enough cause to attack them on the spot.
Exactly.
Oh well, no, that wasn't my. I'm acutely aware of that. I just meant that.
Good.
I'm curious.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious, to best explode people.
And I'd like to reiterate that my safe word is mommy.
Okay.
That is between
we'll never be
you
able
and
to forget
Fee,
that.
and no one else wants to know about it. And also, Fee, I'm so sorry.
I don't even know if I want to know about it.
Do you know the the eye difference between I am interested in what this person is saying to me and oh my god, get me out of this conversation?
Yes.
Okay. That's how I'll let you know if someone's evil or not.
Okay. I don't know if Akko knows that. That's usually a lady thing. That's usually the difference that, that bar that used to be by the academy. When you're out with your girlfriends, it's the difference between leave me alone and don't worry if I disappear without you at the end of the night, and dear God, please come up with an emergency and we need to leave now.
Wade, knowledge nature to figure out what they're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, roll it. Yeah.
Wasn't that the bar that a tree spontaneously grew through it overnight?
The 13 was the one.
If I had a webcam, I would show you the difference in the eyes.
It's as elusive and mysterious as it is in real life. All right, so you guys are heading to the South District?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Why and what are you looking for?
We're going to find a minotaur.
Do you remember? Okay, I was about to say, do you remember the name of him or not? All right.
I write this down, Wade.
My word, a minotaur.
A minotaur. All right, so you are looking for Klaxon. If I remember correctly, you all don't know anywhere he might be specifically other than South District, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably have to ask around a little bit.
Yeah, so who is taking the lead on trying to gather the information to figure out where Klaxon is? Someone has to take that lead.
Hymnos?
It shouldn't be Hymnos.
All right, Kip. We're looking for a minotaur named Klaxon, who was exiled from the Under Senate.
It should probably be someone who actually took ranks of it.
I know exactly how to do this.
Now
Oh,
go.
God.
As soon as we get onto the south side, Wade, I walk up to like the first person.
Okay.
Oi! You seen a man with a cow's head wandering around?
Roll gather information for me.
God.
Also, while I'm here, have you seen the obelisk? I've lost the damn thing.
Let's see what your roll is first.
Also, the obelisk is not grape flavored.
Blech.
Did you lick it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
remember it?
Oh, that's
Did lick
right,
it.
you did.
Well, first he points towards the center of town. I believe that way, my lord, is the way to get to the obelisk. And then a man with a cow head.
Oi, a minotaur.
Oh yeah, I
Klaxon.
think he has a small little eatery, just around the corner from here.
We lost connection for a brief bit, Wade. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I believe he has a small little eatery just around the corner from here.
Oh, thank you. And I'll hand him a copper.
Thank you. He takes it and walks off. You all proceed around the corner, and you do see that there is like a little restaurant here. It's kind of like a cafe almost. You aren't like fully down in the deep southern district. You're more close towards the center of town, where it's kind of not rough but not great. And you see that there's a couple people sitting at little tables on the outside of this cafe, and clearly through the open door you can see a minotaur wearing a white apron, standing behind a counter, chopping up food, and looks like he's preparing food for people at this restaurant. The name of the restaurant is called Feed the
I was gonna
Beast.
say,
Minotaur!
Minotaur.
If he serves beef, I'm leaving. That's weird.
Go on in.
The fucking halfling school of culinary and arts. Eat your own kind.
It's about lunchtime, so I'll go
Yeah,
ahead
you
and-
guys walk in. There is a young goblin woman who greets you all as you walk inside. She gives a little wave.
Good morning.
How many?
6 of us.
Okay,
oh, don't
well,
forget
come
about
on.
Luna.
Oh,
We'll get her
mean,
something.
6 of us and I'm perfect. While we eat, would it be possible to have a chat with the proprietor?
Yeah, I can see if he can come and talk to you. Yeah.
It'd be appreciated. Thank you.
She'll lead you all to a table on the inside, let you all get seated. And then she walks off straight over to the Minotaur, exchanges a few words. He looks up from the chopping that he's doing and looks over at you all, and then picks up a rag and starts wiping off his hands as he walks over. You need something?
I mean, we were all hoping to order some lunch, but I was also hoping that I might pull your ear and pick your brain about some information if you have a few minutes.
I slowly tip Akko's head down as it's craned all the way backwards.
Yeah, he does kind of like loom over you guys as he looks down at you all from your seated position. I don't have too much time to talk, but I can give you a few moments.
Thank
I
you.
assume that your name is Klaxon, right?
That's who I am. I am the owner of this place.
We had some questions for you about the Under Senate, and I don't need to know what happened or what's going on. I am leaving that in the past. I just would care for some insight that you might have.
You want to know about my
there's
home?
a gala going on, and I do, and I understand that it's a I understand what happened to you, and I don't need to know the details, and I'm not drawing any judgment. Please don't think that I am. I obviously am also a member of away from her country, but we're under the understanding that there are a few members of the Under Senate who will be attending a gala in the city, and we were made aware that there might be some threats of violence that we're trying to keep from happening in order to kind of keep things all civil and peaceful like.
You see his nostrils flare a little bit. I know I may look it, but I am not a violent individual.
I can
I
assure
wish to
you,
cause any
we're not
harm.
accusing you of anything.
Oh, no. There was no accusation on your end, and I didn't think, obviously, you have a lovely establishment, and it wouldn't strike me as you being the type.
Thank you.
Was more hoping to pick your brain as to if you were aware of anyone who might have issues with the Under Senate, or an area where these type of individuals might find like refuge, where we could try to stop the problem before it became violent and had a larger impact on more people.
No one that I can think of. I run my eatery here. It is peaceful, and the people who come here are happy with my food. I don't keep up too much with the people from my home after I was exiled.
Do you happen to be familiar with the wee drow lad?
I remember a few drow children from when I lived there.
More recently, into city itself.
No. None have visited my
He fell
restaurant.
into a bad crowd. Okay. It was worth asking. He fell in with a bad crowd. We're just trying to make sure he gets the help he needs.
Forgive me if it sounds like I'm belaboring the point. Do you happen to know if there are any other former members of the Under Senate in the community who might gather and discuss such things, or who might be approached by someone looking to cause unrest? Not necessarily that we are looking to point fingers, but we want to know if there's anyone who might hear about such rumors, someone who might be able to tell us more.
Or whose emotions might be manipulated by people who are seeking to cause unrest, and they might just find themselves being pawns of a greater machine.
Well, no. I know others who left or were forced to leave, but we do not meet often to talk about our home. It is an ache for many. They would rather forget.
But none of them would harbor ill will to the point that they would act upon it.
None that I know of.
Do I get the sense that he is holding anything back, Wade, or is he just
roll it
kind of as it appears?
Sense motive?
Yeah, you too can
Wade.
roll sense motive. Yeah. You're sort of leading this conversation.
Yago's just sitting here staring at Klaxon, like wide-eyed.
Yeah, you all don't get the feeling that he's holding anything back. He seems to be kind of blunt. He doesn't really seem to grasp how to be sort of subtle. Might be your thought here. If he is holding anything back, he's only holding back the fact that he doesn't want to talk very much about the Underson. When he said that there's an ache, you could feel that sort of ache in his words.
Well, if anything else comes to mind, or if you see anything strange, if you could get a message to us, it would be greatly appreciated.
Who are you?
We are the Knights of Luna.
You can reach us at the morning cock.
I know the morning cock.
Hey, that is where we're
Think we all
staying.
do.
The gala that we spoke of is happening tonight. So
Do they need catering?
I believe that it is all taken care of. However, if we speak with our employer, we shall make sure to mention your establishment for any future parties that he may be interested in holding.
Thank you.
Although, if you'd like, there's a bar on this street that's looking to expand. If you speak with the owner, think he's looking to start serving food. You might be able to collaborate and expand both your businesses that way.
What's
draw you
it
a map.
called?
Refresh my memory, Wade. What's it called?
The Wet Whistle.
The Wet Whistle.
I've been there. Very bad place.
Better now. He's investing back into the business.
Not so divey.
No, actually, the liquor doesn't make you blind anymore.
Good. Me cook food
Anyway,
now.
thank you for your time, Master
Thank you.
Klaxon. I look forward to
Thank you.
lunch. It smells wonderful.
He nods
Jules?
and moves back into the kitchen.
Can I bother you for one more thing?
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no.
Would you like to arm wrestle?
Oh no.
No. Very busy.
I
Lunch
slide
rush.
No.
I slide a gold across the table.
Lunch rush
Akko.
coming.
Akko,
Akko, he's busy.
let the man work.
Akko, come back sometime after he closes up, once we've taken care of things.
He looks at the gold and then looks at Akko, and then looks at his arm and then shakes his head. No. And then turns and walks back into the kitchen.
Oi, Jules.
Yes.
You've had a day. Already. It's not even lunch and you've
Akko
had a
looks really
day.
sad.
Yes.
Something that might at least cheer you up and entertain you. Did you know that in Minotaur culture, there are certain things that you can wear to show respect? And as you're a well-traveled individual, I thought I might be able to help you out. And he'll reach into his bag and pull out a red silk handkerchief.
Oh no.
If you tie this around your neck, it's a sign of respect to the
Jules.
Minotaur proprietor.
Jules,
You know,
no.
Kip, that sounds like a load of bull.
I know that I rolled a 25 bluff check, Jules.
Yes,
Hey,
but I'm well traveled and have handled animals before. And I think that your comment is actually
Jules,
degrading. to
did
the
you
man.
just refer to the Minotaur as an animal?
I think that your comment and your insinuation
Oh, look, our lunch is here.
degrading to the man.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, look, lunch, everybody.
What I
A,
said is that I can help provide entertainment. I was
A
telling
series
the
of
truth.
salads is put out on the table.
Oh, thank God.
Large family-style bowls of different types of salads are put out for you all. Very, very nicely well made. They taste delicious.
This is
Is
This
this
is
a
excellent.
vegetarian restaurant?
I
It is a
hope
vegetarian
so.
restaurant. You all look around. You do notice that everybody else is eating something that is vegetarian-based.
All I can hear is Dakota screaming with laughter from the next room.
this is actually
Ju-
quite good.
Jules
Yeah,
is
we wouldn't want to fill
fantastic.
up before the gala.
So
fruit salad.
now is probably the time for us to decide what would our exit strategy be if things go, what's the phrase, tits up?
But first you use the safe word. I've already told you mine.
Yes, several times.
So we still don't know who. We still don't know why the guest list is the way the guest list is.
No, we don't.
And I have a feeling that the Star Chasers were the distraction.
If I had to guess, their patron was high enough up to have arranged the guest list.
Well, we also did learn something else. It most likely the burrow. What's the
Burrowmaster.
Yes, the burrowmaster likely won't be there in person. It's most likely going to be some type of illusion, because if he were there in person, he would be abdicating his seat.
Hopefully that's the case. That it's just a projection.
I mean, that's a very dramatic way to abdicate your seat if that's the case, but
I mean, unless they understand it works like everywhere else, and nobility are essentially immune from their own laws. But
he is not.
It doesn't seem to. The only one who seems to be immune to those laws are the sitting
the only
monarch.
time the high mucky mucks of the Undersenate can leave and not abdicate are for special coincidences, which would be like massive peace accords.
And again, those would typically involve the sitting monarch themselves.
So let's deal with preventative hypotheticals. If something were to happen and we were somehow implicated in a national event, what do we want to do?
Lie.
Okay, so I think here's what we should do. We make Imnos and Alara big, and then you carry Kip and Jules and Fee, and I get small, and I ride Luna, and we all run for our lives.
If we are implicated in some sort of disastrous event, I will not be going anywhere, nor will I run from these problems.
My plan was to sneak out the back.
Okay.
What was the name of our employer again? Does anybody remember?
Griggle something or other?
Wade?
I'm waiting to see if anyone actually wrote it down. I'm very curious if anyone wrote this down.
Was it Hagrundi?
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I know it was
Or
Grundle
Grundle.
something.
Didn't.
That's
Here's my thought.
thing. Okay.
I think, if I understand correctly, that, and I'm sorry to completely change the subject, Alara, but again, should shit hit the fan, we shouldn't run. We must own that something happened. If we are evacuating, we will evacuate the same way we would in any other case, with an expeditious retreat. That being said, unless I misunderstood, Munktor was a member of his guard.
I think he's trying to make a play. This entire situation, the more we unravel about it, reeks of a noble's game of chess.
Yes. So I think that if we are implicated, we do want an escape plan. And I feel as though the idea of staying and trying to sort things out, it places the idea that the information we may carry is not valuable. And if we are witness to something terrible and someone else tries to control the flow of the information as it leaves, our words will carry little if we do not leave as well. Because, well, the dead tell no tales.
Perhaps so, but I doubt we would be the only witnesses to such an event.
True, but let's put a hypothetical here of we have all of these nobles coming. Some are trustworthy, some are not. We wouldn't necessarily know who to trust either.
Well, certainly.
I think that it would be even if it's unnecessary. I think it would be prudent for us to have a contingency plan.
Do you have one in mind?
Jules may have been onto something with his comment about an expeditious retreat. I mean, it'd be relatively inexpensive to pick up a few scrolls of that.
It is part of my domain.
Okay, but where would we go? Where would we this would need to not be a discussion that we have at the time. This would need to be something we have planned ahead of time.
My first thought is back to the academy.
I think that's the first place people would look for us.
Well, certainly, but they would also be the ones equipped to protect us.
I mean, depending on what happens and how it happens, there's also the possibility that you could come home with me.
Aye. Kip has started furiously
Would the
writing,
Accords
by the way.
potentially, if we were implicated in something terrible, would the Accords house political prisoners?
It would depend on what happened and what the situation was.
I think our smartest plan is to move north.
Also, it might not be under the Accords. It might be under my family.
Wouldn't that implicate your family?
Well,
Depends
they
on
don't
who
give a
knows.
fuck.
It depends on who would know.
So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm writing down everything we know about the situation since we got here. I say we date this, we have it signed by witnesses, and we leave it somewhere for safekeeping. So if all shit hits the fan, we at least have this as evidentiary
Give
of
it
what
to
is
your
happening.
boss.
Aye. I mean, it might not do much, but it'll show that we established that there might be a double cross before the fact.
I would agree that the hold is probably the best place for it, as they are politically neutral. Well, sort of.
At least
this-
tacitly so.
I
Just-
think that is a good idea.
Oh, I think there's going to be some hold representatives there tonight after I drop that tidbit to good old Dunkles. As soon as we mentioned political assassination, suddenly the hold wasn't quite as fucking neutral, was it?
We'll see.
I just don't understand why the Crown Prince is going to be there. It doesn't make sense.
Political marriage.
So one thing we may want to consider at this point, since we've exhausted just about every other lead I can think of, it may be time to more actively question our employer.
That's actually what I was getting at.
I think that would have the opposite effect that we desire. It tip our hands that we know something isn't right. He would have safeguards in place. He could remove us before the event even takes place and then even more readily use us as scapegoats.
What if our problem isn't the employer but the seneschal?
And I think Fee is correct because we talked to the employer. He seemed just as blindsided by the situation as we are right now.
His seneschal knows everything that's going on and seemed to know more than she was letting on.
And she's the contact for the assignment that we currently are under.
Really?
And for most of
Yes.
the diplomats, she knew where several of the diplomats were to be staying, which granted is her job.
But it's suspicious in this context.
It's at
With-
least something
with-
that shouldn't be overlooked.
So, assuming that Munkter was speaking relatively truthfully, the Star Chasers weren't, as you said, they were the distraction, but they were also the method of entry for this drow child.
Hey, who we know can become intangible by whatever means.
Well, invisible at least.
Aye, if I could see him, then it is some form of invisibility.
So the question is whether or not they'll have to alter their plans and how much.
I think that what is most likely is that the Star Chasers were a method of entry as well as a distraction and a scapegoat. I think that there is either another faction we're unaware of, or I think that our employer could possibly be involved somehow. We either do not know who Munkter is truly working for, or we do not and I know we do not know who the child or the drow is working for or with.
I think it's likely that Munkter was working for himself. He was simply an ally of convenience for whoever this other party is.
The Star Chaser's made for a convenient pawn. If we wouldn't have stopped them, it would have been an easy finger to point.
I think, unfortunately, much of what we're going to have to do is simply be vigilant at the gala itself. Anything we can do to expand the ability to see invisible creatures will probably be of significant benefit to us as a group. If there are ways to allow more of us to see it, that could help.
I was planning to check all the foods for poison to ensure
not a bad idea.
Not a methodology employed.
Wade, Kip's gonna whistle over his familiar.
Yeah, he flies in through the open door and settles on your shoulder and starts pecking at your salad.
Oi.
Ah!
I need you to go to the estate, and he'll kind of visualize that. And then visualize the drow boy. Look for people that other people can't see. Right now, you can see invisible things, just like I can.
See, boy.
If you notice that, let me know, okay?
See, boy.
Thank you.
He takes off your shoulder and flies off.
God knows if that'll work, but it's worth a try.
Hey, Wade.
Yeah?
So we, galas, these sorts of parties are relatively common among nobility, right?
Yes.
Are they relatively common in this format that like nobody knows who's coming necessarily?
Give me knowledge nobility. Check.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
So it depends. Most of the times for these types of parties, what nobles will do is they will have a very tailored guest list, and then they will also have an open party where other nobles are free to show up at their convenience, if they're of above a certain stature, for instance.
Is that not happening this time?
Well, you know that there were direct invitations sent out. That's what Hagrundi told you all. You don't know if there's also just an open invitation, because what will happen with open invitations is people will just write in and say, hey, we're coming. Like, we saw this open invitation. We want to come to this party. Be expecting us. So you know that there were specific ones, but it could also be open. You just don't know if the open one was also there. Could be both.
Is there any sort of like history of like nobles sort of pranking other nobles parties like this to cause humiliation of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, it would be very, it'd probably be very mean-spirited, but a high-ranking noble could last minute send in something saying, hey, I'm coming to your party, and then the party is not up to that noble's pedigree, and so the host looks like an ass for throwing it and having this person show up.
But this party should already be at a very high level because of the people who are known to be coming.
Right.
Which goes back to some of the major concerns of why.
Right. So then I'll go to the parties. Like I'm just wondering. I'm wondering to myself if maybe we're overthinking this a little, and maybe the Starshine Sun Boys or whatever were the threat, and that what else is actually going on here is this is just some noble who's, picking a metaphorical fight with another noble, and this isn't an assassination, it's just an embarrassment.
Well, I think what we need to do, in all honesty, is finish our lunch, go talk to the Seneschal, and get set up for this party, because we are quickly running out of time.
We
I do
are.
agree with finishing our lunch. I'm not wasting any of this. This is very good.
Yeah, we definitely can't move on without it.
Oh my gosh. Did you? I just
Yeah.
shove more salad in my mouth and like start shoveling it in my mouth before I say something to Akko that just encourages him further.
Yeah.
You guys have a very pleasant lunch. It is very delicious.
Before we hoof it.
You could say it's bovine, even.
When you all do finish, it's roughly about noon. So you know that if you want to be like last minute walking into the gala, you have at most 6 hours.
Yeah, I don't think we want to be last minute.
No, we need to head that. We need to collect anything we might have at the inn that we want to bring with us, and we should go over there so we can take a last look around the property, talk to anybody we need to, check, entrances, exits,
Put
do our
on our
job.
nice clothes.
Yeah.
These are my nice clothes.
I
gotta look the part.
I have nicer clothes. All right. Yeah, so let's get to the inn, get our stuff, and head to the estate.
Okay, you guys head back towards the morning cock, and can do whatever you want to do there.
Jules, assuming we all go back to our rooms and whatnot. Jules knocks on Alara's door again.
Come in.
Do you have a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Alara's in the middle of like digging through her bags and stuffing things from one bag into a smaller bag.
Putting together a activities bag.
More like a clothing bag. I do have a courtier's ensemble that I should probably be wearing.
I will be wearing some of my high regalia. Have you given any more consideration to my request?
So, yes. So there is something that I wish to eventually establish, which is a new offshoot of the faith that I don't know how I want it to work, but instead of working like the Star Chasers where you change your stars, having a reliable constant where instead of trying to tear others down so that some may rise, that all can rise together.
Back in my home, before I left, and Jules realizes what he's saying and he closes the door behind him. I worked hand in hand with some kin, much in the same way, seeking to raise all stations without having to chase the stars. I am in agreement with this belief system. If that is the church if that is the method of worship that you wish to build, I will gladly build upon that with you.
I just want you to know that is something I am doing. I want you to be caught unawares. Beyond that, yes, of course, I would take your offer, but I don't want you to offer something that you may not stand beside in the future.
I have no illusions that you and I see the world in different ways. You have seen me be kind in moments where you likely would have employed a firmer hand, and vice versa. It is our allegiance to each other, and the understanding that we are the spirit and the martial equally, although I will also admit that most clerics are slightly more martial than I am. but it is in the combination of such and our working together that we find the most success. I would be honored to have you serve as my keeper.
All right. Well, any further that we would need to speak on this, I think we can wait until after the gala. But until then, I think we are on an equal footing.
We are, and
With that,
building.
As you say, we are on equal footing. You both feel this thrum in your chest, as if for a moment you are vibrating, and the world around you just stops. And you feel this intake of air into your chest, as you're looking at one another, and that thrumming feels like it becomes an alignment. And in that moment, you realize that you have forged a bond through Gillespie. You see each other and the power that's in one another, like a small seed that's been planted. You feel that there's a reservoir now that you can tap into through that connection. And then the world comes back to you.
Well, it seems that's forged in more than just our words.
I have experienced many elements of the divine, but never such a strong bond before. This is a blessed moment, and I will treasure it forever. And then Jules reaches into his bag and pulls out one of the holy symbols from his finer garment, and will it's a wrought iron one, but it's very polished. And he will reach forward and he will pin it onto your cloak like a brooch.
What exactly is this holy symbol? Out of character, like.
It's literally just a fine iron holy symbol.
Okay.
Just know that it's exquisite craftsmanship. You could probably research it and learn a little bit more about it, but beyond that, it's just a really nice holy symbol.
Okay. Thank you.
Alara, there is a knock at the door.
I look at Jules and just. Is there anything else?
That should do it.
Okay. Come in.
The door opens up and Chris walks in. She has a big sack over her shoulder that she's holding with one hand. As she walks in, you hear kind of clanking as she closes the door. Yo, what's up?
Chris?
Not much.
She pulls the bag over and it slams into the ground with just metal clanking, just a ruckus of noise.
What do you got there, Chris?
Gregor said that you all should have this. It's Munkter's armor. He said that he thought that it would serve you all better.
Okay.
I can use it, but I don't really like it. Kind of works. It doesn't work with my motif.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Chris.
Yeah.
I would like to introduce you to the newest keeper of our faith.
She looks around.
Me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that should have been kind of obvious. That's good. Congrats.
Thanks.
You get the vision yet?
Okay.
That what that is?
Yes.
Is what
wait, I'm assuming that
is.
That what the vision? What do you mean?
Well, I don't know, when I became the keeper for the workhouse here, I started being able to see things and know kind of when things were going to be going good or going bad based on what kind of protests we were going to go to and things like that, and things that Gregor wanted to do, or people who came into the house, whether or not they should be there or not.
Then I believe so, yes.
You want me to show you how to
But
do it?
Yes?
All right. She walks over to you, Alara, and reaches down and grabs both your hands and brings them up in between you all. Okay, close your eyes.
Okay. Close my eyes.
Now, think about Father Jules here. Think about how you want to keep him safe and how you want to keep your friends safe.
Okay.
Now think about what you want to keep them safe from right now. What is something that you are going to do that you want to keep them safe from?
All right.
Alora, out of game, what are you thinking of?
I am thinking of how I want to keep them safe from basically being put into situations where they lose their free will. I want to keep them safe from corrupting forces that would not just put them on paths that they cannot escape from, but coerce them into wanting things that they don't want.
Okay. Chris is holding your hands.
With it.
Her hands are very warm in yours as she's holding your hands. Do you feel anything, Alora?
Do I feel anything, Wade?
I haven't told you that you feel anything.
No.
All right. Are you thinking about big things or are you thinking about small things?
I guess
think about
big things?
Think about something specific. Think about an action that you're going to be taking or an action you want to take. Or you think that your friends might take. If you think they're going to do something and you're worried about what that could be, think about that one thing.
Think about something I'm worried about or thinking about something I want to do?
Something you want to do or your friends want to do and you're worried about it.
All right.
Katie, out of game, what are you thinking of?
I am thinking of basically I'm worried that we're going to get into danger of some sort this evening.
Okay, so you're thinking about the gala and going to the gala.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Your body locks up with pure adrenaline and fear before a fire washes through you, setting all of your nerves ablaze in this one moment of pure, great danger that moves through you as you think about your friends and you going to this gala. It feels infinite for a moment all around you before it evaporates into nothing and you are left there with just the feeling of Chris holding your hands.
Okay, for that moment, Lara screams. She screams as though she is actually feeling the pain.
Chris instantly wraps Alara in her arms and hugs her. It's okay. It's okay. You're back here. You're back here with me and Father Jules.
What was that?
That's the Omen. It's something us keepers can do for the community, for us to see what actions we should and shouldn't be taken for the collective. So, Alara, out of game, you now have access to a spell called Omen of Peril. You can cast this spell 2 times a day. I'll send you a link to the spell.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Will she be okay?
Is that loud enough for me to hear, by the way?
You would have heard Alara screaming through the walls, yes.
Hey, Hymnos is knocking on your door.
Yeah, do we all rush to the door now?
Loudly.
He screams and you knock.
He probably doesn't. Probably just opens the door.
You see Chris, the half-orc, holding Alara. Jules is standing there looking worried at them as they're talking.
What happened?
I believe that our god spoke to her and gave her a terrible omen.
We're in danger for tonight.
Are you all right?
I am all right. I am uninjured. Wait, quick question.
Yes.
This spell requires a focus.
You don't need it.
Okay.
It's a spell-like ability for you, so that doesn't apply to this for you. You just cast the spell 2 times a day if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Well, hopefully I didn't wear out my welcome, but that's only going to get stronger as you get stronger, and you and Jules, I guess, travel more with each other. It grew stronger with me and Gregor because we're always together in the house, and he gets something from the bond with the house too. I haven't really ever asked him about it, but it's his. It's the hero monks thing. I do the keeper thing. He does the hero monk thing. But yeah.
Tell him.
Sorry to worry everyone.
For teeth, but
you are sorry.
You are always welcome, Chris. Always.
So, are you guys a bonded pair now?
Not like that.
It does appear, however, that our fates are further intertwined than we realize.
Yes.
She pats you on the shoulder, Alara, and takes a step back. Well, I think I'm going to get out of here. If y'all need me, I'll be at the workhouse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Take
and
care.
She'll slip past Emnos and Akko and make her way out.
So Akko looks at the bag on the floor, like our
big lumpy bag.
So was she the officiant and that's the dowry, or
that's not what happened, Akko. That's Munkter's armor. Jules and I are just bound on a faith level, not on what level you are that you're thinking it's
so you're gonna be faithful.
The bond of a priest, of a cleric, and a paladin.
You're not making this any better for yourself.
God damn it, Akko!
Akko. I was married once, I will never marry again, and in that same light, I would appreciate not making jokes untoward such things.
I don't mind the humor right now because it does make light of heavy situations in which I might actually just be on the floor hyperventilating. But we are in danger, and I'm not sure that there is a way for us to prevent the path ahead. So just be prepared for this evening.
Well, the best way I can think to get you prepared is to help you with your armor. So you best get ready.
Yes.
I'll set about
Need to adjust the thing
readjusting
anyway.
straps and buckles and things.
Yes, I can assist with that.
Yeah, it's very easy for you all to get her situated into Munkter's armor. It appears that Chris took the liberty of adjusting some of the straps to fit Alara better than it would for Munkter's larger size that he was. It's not a perfect glove fit because it wasn't tailored for you, Alara, but it does fit you well enough that you feel like you could be combative in it.
They just put me in Munkter's armor?
It sounds like that's what they're doing, is trying to put you into the armor.
We're getting it ready. We'll put you in it if you want.
This is the armor of a heretic. It needs to be cleansed. I can't wear the armor of a heretic.
You would probably assume Chris and Gregor probably took care of that before they just handed it to you.
That's fair.
It's probably a good assumption that they wouldn't just give you armor of a heretic and say, good fucking luck.
Regardless, Jules will take out some. Oh, never mind. We'll have that. Jules will do some ceremonial blessings on it.
I'll admit the subtlety of that is somewhat lost on me. To me, armor is armor.
We need.
Armor is heavy.
By to see what the screaming is about, sees Alara getting into full plate, just backs slowly out of the room and walks away.
That's fair. All right. Anything else you all are doing here?
I don't think so.
I'm probably trying to shepherd people out the fucking door so
Yeah.
we can get going.
Sorry.
All right. You all. Alara, are you wearing the armor? I just want to be very clear about that. Or are you sticking with your armor for tonight?
Couldn't hurt, honestly.
I guess I'm wearing it.
Okay. Did you guys divide all the items? I want to make sure of that too. I know there was a question about the cloak that you all picked up. And I don't know who has the tower shield right now either. I want to make sure we clear that before you all move into this next stage. So,
I mean, I would imagine Alara
who has
has
the cloak?
Well, we said that Joel could have it, or not Joel, Imnos could have it if he wanted it.
Was it a cloak of
Otherwise-
resistance +1?
Yeah.
If no one else is itching for it, I'll certainly not say no.
All right, sounds like Imnos has the cloak of resistance +1. There we go. Tower shield is imbued with the heroic spell, which allows someone without the proficiency of tower shield to wield the tower shield. Who has the tower shield?
I think.
That feels like Alara to me.
Yeah, I will take it since I
Unless you
can't
wanna
use the
use your-
tower shield, but I.
Unless
would
you
be
want
able
to use your
it
great
with that.
sword.
She doesn't have a great sword.
I
thought
don't.
you had a great sword.
Nope.
Oh, never mind. I remember how that came up. Never mind.
Okay, Alara's got the tower shield. Perfect. All right, you all make your way to the north side of town. It's still light out. It's starting to dim a little bit, but we're not quite to dusk yet. It's only about 3 o'clock in the afternoon at this stage. As you all start nearing the Grundy household, you can see that there are people walking around. There are a lot more servants walking around the grounds now. You see that there are a few more guards than the last time that you were there. And that is where we are going to end it for tonight's game, so that next week when we pick up, we officially start the gala. No more sleuthing, no more investigating, no more going down rabbit holes. You all will officially start the gala next week.
Nah, I think we've gotten about as
before
much
we
as we're going to
start the
get out of
gala,
things.
Can we go back a few hours? Or
Oh my god, I will murder you all.
I will
Just
also
getting
murder
throat.
everyone.
Yep, I'll kill everyone in this chat and then myself.
I was sitting there like I understand the value of this scene that's happening right now with like Jules and Alara and that, but can we just like put it off like a day?
just to be clear, I had no idea that was going to happen.
Sometimes it just works out.
I knew it was going to happen.
You don't know shit. You're just
That's
flying
true.
off the cuff.
I just made it up. I just literally made it up. It just happened. Sure. So yeah, thank you everyone who's been watching tonight. We had a great turnout for viewers tonight. Pale Dragon, just gonna say it. Thank you for all the bits and helping the party out. That'll be super helpful in what's gonna happen next, which is just a regular party, probably. No danger.
And no, we are not going to die because we were amazing.
Remember, starting next week, throughout the month of April, we are doing the donation drive for Players versus Cancer. If you're able to give, please give. If you can't, that's absolutely understandable. Live within your means. And yeah, check us out on Tuesday next week for Dragon Horde. And have a great night, everyone. We'll raid some D&D channels with what we have going, and we love you all. Have a great night.
Have a great
Good night,
one.
everybody.
Thank you.